Well, good afternoon. It's 1:01 and on November 16th, 2021, meeting of the Landmark Preservation Commission. I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Let's start with introductions of the commissioners. I'm Kelly Wemple. I'm an architect nominated by the American Institute of Architects. Next, we have George.
Well, hi, everyone. I'm George Dennis. I was nominated by History Colorado, and I redo houses that I live in for landmark designation.
Great. Brad.
Hi, my name is Brad Gassman. I'm an architect, and I was nominated by History Colorado.
Aaron.
Good afternoon. I'm Erin Hummel. I'm a landscape architect, and I was nominated by the American Society of Landscape Architects.
Graham.
I'm Graham Johnson, a preservation project manager nominated by the Denver Planning Board.
Julie.
Hi, I'm Julie Johnson. I am a historic preservation project manager as well, and I was nominated by the community at large.
Gary.
Hello, I'm Gary Petrie. I'm an architect, and I was nominated by the Denver Planning Board.
Great. Erica.
Hi, I'm Erica Warzel. I'm an architectural historian and preservation consultant nominated by the community at large.
And Anne.
Hi, I'm Ann Wattenberg. I'm an architect nominated by the American Institute of Architects.
Great. And Jen, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure, I'm Jen Capetto. I'm landmark preservation staff.
Thank you. All right. So at the beginning of every meeting, we like to reserve some time for public comments. Just to be clear, we have a few other times for comment during our meeting. So if you're here about the hearing that's on our agenda or any of the design review projects, there will be public comment periods for those later. So this is just for general preservation comments, not about any project that's under review today. So if you're joining by phone and you'd like to make a public comment, please dial *9. That'll raise your hand so that we know to unmute you. Or you can email landmark@denvergov.org to let us know. And if you're joining via computer, you can use the hand raise function in Zoom. It should be along the bottom of your screen. Are there any comments?
I don't see any hands raised. And right now we don't have anyone on the phone.
Okay. All right. Then we'll go ahead and move forward. Oh, you know what? I think I skipped the meeting record. We do have a meeting record. Whoops. On up for review today. So it's the November 2nd meeting record. Did the commissioners have any questions or comments on that? And if not, would someone like to make a motion?
I can make a motion, Kelly. I move to approve the November 2nd, 2021 meeting minutes.
Thank you, Brad. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Graham. I think you got that one.
And I noticed an error on that, so I'm sorry. I should have mentioned this earlier, that there was a gentleman named John. My notes are on my other computer that is shut down. I think it's John Sullivan who had said he was not in favor of the district, and it shows as in favor on the meeting record. So
Gotcha.
We'll need to change that.
Okay.
I noticed that this morning.
Okay. Great. Now, if we've already made a motion, is that okay? That'll be corrected and we can still move forward with approving this.
Yeah, or you guys could make an amendment to it if you want. Amendment to your motion.
It sounds like you guys are already on top of that. Adam, do you have a recommendation?
Make an amendment, please.
Okay, great. I will make a friendly amendment that the meeting record be updated to reflect that at the public hearing, John Sullivan was opposed to the designation. So Brad, do you accept that?
I do accept that, yes.
And Graham?
Yes.
Okay. All right, then if there's no further discussion on the motion, I'll call for the vote. George?
Aye.
Brad?
Aye.
Aaron?
Abstain.
Graham?
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
Anne,
Aye.
and Kelly. Aye. All right, so we have 8 votes approving. So the motion passes because we have 8 people in support of the motion and 1 abstention, which was Aaron. All right. Great. So next up on our agenda today are the consent agenda items. So up on the screen is the routine for consent agenda items. I will not go ahead and announce each consent agenda item, but we will hear from commissioners if there are any questions about these items. So were there any questions or anything that needs to be pulled off of consent? Anne?
I would just like to get a clarification on application number 2021-COA-475. And this is the new sign at the public library. And I believe that there is a discrepancy between the description of the letters in the staff report, which are called for painted letters, and the description of the letters that are actually shown in the application, which are vinyl letters. And I'm just wondering if the staff can just clarify that. That's my only question.
Yeah, thanks for that question, Anne. You are correct. And we actually have people on from the library if you want to pull this off consent. The letters that are going to go above the door will be painted. And I think it's just an error in the application. The letters that are going to be on the ground sign away from the building, I believe will be vinyl. And that's what's already existing is vinyl lettering. And so I think that was where the discrepancy happened. But yes, so there are two different kinds of lettering.
And I had the same question. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, Kelly.
Okay, I had the same question, but I had some other concerns about that I'd like to speak with the applicant about. So I'd propose that we take this off of consent. Gary, did you have something as well?
Since you're asking to take it off the consent agenda, I can ask my questions when we talk about it.
Gotcha. Okay. And I had a question about, Becca, this is your project too, 301 High Street. So that is the fence, overheight fence.
Mhm.
And my question was that the staff report says the side yard fence is increasing from 4 feet high to 6 feet high, which is what the site plan shows. But then the elevation, the south elevation on sheet A22 shows that it's going to be 8 feet high. So I guess I just wanted to confirm, is the intent that that be 6 feet or 8 feet, and that elevation portrays the existing as it's not dimensioned, but it looks taller than 4 feet.
So I believe the intention is that the side yard fence will be 6 feet and then the alley fence, so the rear yard fence will be 8 feet as measured from the alley. But it will be 6 feet as measured from the interior, from the backyard. Does that make it even more confusing?
Yeah, so just for zoning clarification, or for clarification, the zoning code says that measurements of fences are from the highest grade. So if the yard is above the alley, then you're measuring from the yard.
Gotcha. So I guess on sheet A22 then, I mean, it doesn't, I guess it says that from the yard, it's 4 foot 9 inches. But, I'm a little confused by this. Okay.
So I think the whole site sort of slopes back towards the alley.
Mhm.
And so that fence, when it's in the side, starts lower at like 4 feet and will work its way up to 6 feet. But then by the time you get to the alley from the outside, it will measure as 8 feet. Is that?
Okay. So that makes sense. I guess I'm just concerned that it looks. I don't know. It's just the section that they've provided measures it to be 8 feet. And so I'm a little concerned that the language is that it's going to be 6 feet. It's unclear as to where the stepping is, but essentially what you're saying is the staff recommendation doesn't change based on that. It's just that the grading is such that it varies so much.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's why it has to come to the commission, because 8 feet is technically, anything over 6 feet is over height.
Mhm.
So you would need to review it either way.
Okay. Thank you. I'm comfortable with that. Any other questions about consent agenda items? No? All right, then it sounds like the only project being pulled off of consent is 675 Santa Fe Drive. Would someone like to make a motion for the remaining consent agenda items?
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion.
Thanks, Julie.
Sure, I move to approve the consent agenda. The items are 2732 West 38th Avenue, Potter Highlands, 2401 Welton Street in 5 Points, 675 Santa Fe Drive. Oh, I'm sorry, that's the one we're not doing. Do I remove that from the consent agenda? 301 High Street and Country Club, 170 Gilpin Street and Country Club, and 18300 West Alameda Parkway, Red Rocks.
Thank you, Julie. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Erica. All right. I will call for the vote. George.
Aye.
Brad.
Aye.
Aaron.
Aye.
Graham.
Oh, aye, sorry.
Julie.
Aye.
Gary.
Aye.
Erica.
Aye.
Anne.
Aye.
And Kelly. Aye. All right, so we have a unanimous vote and the motion passes. So if there's anyone on the call who is here for one of the consent agenda items that was just approved, you're free to hop off the call. And for the applicants of 675 Santa Fe Drive, your project will be first when we start design review. Okay.
So Jenny, you're welcome to go ahead and share your screen when you're ready.
Okay.
Great. So now we'll move into the public hearing that we have scheduled today. And that is for 2021L-006 at 3001 South Federal Boulevard. And so the process for public hearings, we normally have a page for that?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't put it in there. I thought it might be
Okay.
the regular one, Kelly. I apologize for that.
No worries, no worries. We'll just go over that really quickly. So I announced the project or the designation application that's under review for the public hearing. So I'll formally open the public hearing and then staff will make their presentation of the application and their recommendation. After which we'll hear from the applicant who will have up to 10 minutes to present. And then we will open up for public comments. So public comment periods for public hearings are 3 minutes each. So if you have a public comment at that time, you'll go ahead and use the raise hand button or *9 if you're joining us by phone. After the public comments are completed, I will close the public hearing and we will move into deliberation and commissioners will vote. So, all right, Jenny, do you want to go ahead and get started with the
Sure.
application?
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. And just make sure you guys can see the presentation on the screen right now.
Yes.
Excellent. All right, well, good afternoon, commissioners. Today I'm presenting on the
I'm sorry, Jenny. I think I forgot to say that I opened the public hearing. I think that needs to be formalized. So
All right, great. We are open.
we're open now.
All right. We are open for the public hearings today to talk about the proposed historic designation of Pancrasia Hall at 3001 South Federal Boulevard on the former Loretto Heights College campus. This site is actually under redevelopment currently as a multi-use residential and commercial node in Southwest Denver. And this designation application is the result of several years of community planning and negotiations with the property owner to ensure historic preservation of the significant landscape and the legacy of the Sisters of Loretto in Denver. The proposed designation of Pancrasia Hall as a Denver landmark resulted from those community conversations and negotiations, and is the first designation to come to LPC for consideration. There will be 2 more eventually to be submitted, and those include the administration building and chapel and the priest's house. So just want to give you guys a little bit of background there. So the ability to designate individual landmarks and historic districts in the city and county of Denver is set forth in the 1967 Landmark Preservation Ordinance. Since then, the city has designated 352 individual landmarks, 57 historic districts that are scattered across the city, as you see indicated on the map. This is about 7,200 buildings. We just updated our numbers, so it's a little bit greater than what you guys have been used to hearing. And it's also a little bit of a higher percentage now, too. About 4.5% of our city now includes designated landmarks in terms of total numbers of structures. The designation process is community driven and applications can be submitted by a variety of persons that you can see here on the screen. For this property, the owner submitted the designation application. The applicant is owner Pancratia Hall Partners, represented here today by Jim Hartman, who will be giving the applicant presentation. Pancrasia Hall is located in the Harvey Park South neighborhood and Council District number 2, which is Councilman Kevin Flynn. Its zoning is customized and resulted from the implementation of the Loretto Heights Small Area Plan. PUDG number 24 includes guidance on the treatment of Pancrasia Hall and the other historic structures and open spaces that are being preserved for future use. This structure is near the end of a rehabilitation that is providing an adaptive use of the structure as affordable housing. The project is a state and federal rehabilitation tax credit project. A property must meet the following criteria for historic designation. It has to be more than 30 years old or of exceptional importance. It has to meet at least 3 out of 10 significance criteria, maintain integrity, and be considered by the Landmark Preservation Commission for relation to historic context or theme. And we'll go through all of those now. So this one meets a lot of significance criteria. The structure, built in 1930, is more than 30 years old. It meets 5 significance criteria that you see highlighted on the screen, which is 50% of the significance criteria as a whole. So it meets B, C, D, F, and J. It has direct and substantial association with a recognized person or persons who had influence on society. It embodies the distinctive visible characteristics of an architectural style or type. It is a significant example of the work of a recognized architect or master builder. It represents an established and familiar feature of the neighborhood, community, or contemporary city due to its prominent location or physical characteristics. And lastly, it is also associated with social movements, institutions, or patterns of growth or change that contributed significantly to the culture of the neighborhood, community, city, state, or nation. And I'll go through each of these significance criteria in detail now. Pancrasia Hall has direct and substantial association with the Sisters of Loretto and Mother Mary Pancrasia, who looks a little scary here, but I understand from history she was a very lovely woman. She was born Mary Lucinda Bonfils in 1851, for whom the building was named in memoriam. Both the group and person had influence on Denver society as an arm of the Roman Catholic Church focused on education, in this case, women's education. While Mother Pancratia died in 1915, before construction of Pancratia Hall in 1930, her individual contributions are worth noting as part of the larger legacy left by the Sisters of Loretto in Denver and the evolution of the Loretto Heights campus. The Sisters of Loretto were a North American educational order established in 1812 that followed a commitment of the Roman Catholic Church to provide schooling for its children and proliferation of the church itself. The Sisters' presence in Denver prior to the establishment of Loretto Heights Academy spanned at least 2 decades. In 1864, the Sisters established St. Mary's Academy in downtown Denver at 14th and California Streets. The then 16-year-old Sister Pancratia moved to Denver and served as teacher and administrator, eventually becoming director of the academy by age 30. Mother Pancratia was one of the most important members of the Sisters of Loretto in Denver and related to the Bonfils family, who were well-known local benefactors. She established Loretto Heights Academy in 1888. Her vision and that of the Sisters of Loretto is generally accredited for the success of the Sisters' first Denver location, St. Mary's Academy, as well as Loretto Heights Academy. They are responsible for the education of thousands of women throughout Denver. The Sisters of Loretto operated Loretto Heights College until 1988, 100 years after Mother Pancratia purchased the hilltop property and established Loretto Heights Academy. St. Mary's Academy eventually moved to the Denver suburb of Cherry Hills Village and continues to be operated by the Sisters today, furthering their legacy. Pancrasia Hall embodies the distinctive visible characteristics of the collegiate Gothic style. History Colorado defines this architectural style as a combination of the Gothic Revival and Jacobean Elizabethan styles. In Colorado, this is primarily seen in large institutional and civic buildings. Pancrasia Hall is no exception here, as a large institutional building on the former Loretto Heights Academy and College campus. It exhibits the collegiate Gothic style through common elements such as arched entrances, steeply pitched roof, intersecting gables and dormers, front facade chimney, and abundant multi-light windows. Pancrasia Hall is also a significant example of recognized Denver-based architect Harry W.J. Edbrook. This collegiate Gothic style structure was a departure from Edbrook's more common Mediterranean influenced designs, like the Valverde School and former Rexall drugstore on East Colfax that you see pictured here. Pancrasia Hall is the only collegiate Gothic style structure on the Loretto Heights campus and represents a stylistic shift from the previous Richardsonian Romanesque designs of Harry's uncle, Frank Edbrook, who designed the Loretto Heights Administration Building and Chapel. At the time of Pancrasia Hall's design, Harry was in the middle of his successful architecture practice that would extend until 1946. He came from a line of successful architects. Born in Chicago, he was the son of Willoughby J. Edbrook, who designed such buildings as the old U.S. Post Office in Washington, D.C., and of course, nephew of Frank E. Edbrook, who became one of Denver's most highly acclaimed architects. Harry joined his uncle's architecture practice in 1908 and opened his own independent firm in 1913 upon his uncle's retirement. He became a notable Denver architect himself, designing many well-known commercial, civic, and institutional structures. Pancrasia Hall was an important architectural commission for the Loretto Heights campus and Harry, as it signaled the first expansion of the campus after it gained accreditation as a college and ushered in the only collegiate Gothic style structure on the campus. Pancrasia Hall represents an established and familiar feature of the Harvey Park South and College View neighborhoods, as well as the contemporary city of Denver due to its prominent location and physical characteristics. Located on the 71-acre lot of the former Loretto Heights College, Pancrasia Hall is the only collegiate Gothic style building on the campus, thus giving it unique and prominent physical characteristics. A 5-story building of red brick and accented with cast stone lintels, the building is easily recognizable with Celtic crosses on the front gables, ornamental finials, and pointed arched chapel windows on its front facade. Located northwest of the administration building atop the hill, Pancrasia Hall has maintained its prominent location over the years, making it a visible staple of the surrounding neighborhood and city. As the surrounding land was developed by the Sisters of Loretto over many years, they made thoughtful decisions on landscape design to maintain the prominence and distinction of Pancrasia Hall. While the redevelopment of the property will remove some visibility of Pancrasia Hall from several vantage points, its prominent location atop the hill and physical characteristics will be preserved. And lastly, for the significance criteria, Pancrasia Hall is associated with the following social movements and institutions that contributed significantly to the culture of the neighborhood, community, and city. women's education, Loretto Heights Academy and College, and the Catholic Church. It represents the Catholic Church's commitment to education through the Sisters of Loretto and their mission to specifically provide education to women at a time when society was advancing such thought. The Sisters established this educational movement in the quickly growing city of Denver, and Pancrasia Hall helped advance and evolve this movement in the early to mid 20th century. Pancrasia Hall also signaled the permanence of the Sisters in what would eventually become Southwest Denver, contributing to the growth and development of the neighborhood and city. In respect to change over time, the property retains a high degree of integrity. It is in its original location. Most of the exterior materials and design are original, with minimal repairs and alterations over time. Most of the alterations that did occur or have occurred at Pancrasia occurred in the interior of the structure. Its rehabilitation and adaptive reuse as affordable housing has resulted in exterior alterations. However, the rehabilitation is a state and federal rehabilitation tax credit project, and the alterations are therefore following the Secretary of the Interior standards for rehabilitation as approved by the National Park Service and Colorado State Historic Preservation Office. Therefore, the exterior alterations are sensitive to and compatible with the structure's original character and design. The removal of Marion Hall, formerly attached to a small section of Pancrasia Hall at its northwest corner, affects the setting that existed from 1957 to 1988, when Marion Hall existed. However, the removal of the attached residence hall restores the original Pancrasia Hall setting, feeling, and association. The Marion Hall removal does not negatively impact the essential physical features that make Pancrasia Hall architecturally significant. While the site redevelopment will have considerable impact on Pancrasia Hall's setting, the structure is still found to maintain a high degree of overall integrity. The structure does meet several historic contexts and themes with a period of significance ranging from 1930 to 1988. The addition of Pancrasia Hall to the Loretto Heights campus in 1930 signaled the expansion and growth of the Sisters of Loretto and Catholic Church's mission to provide education and religion to women in grade levels through the Loretto Heights Academy and at the collegiate level through the newly accredited Loretto Heights College. Pancrasia Hall assumed the Academy's high school curriculum and dormitory, originally housed in the 1891 administration building, to make room for college courses in the administration building. At the time of Pancrasia's construction, this area was still relatively undeveloped and would largely remain so until the years surrounding World War II. Loretto Heights would not be annexed by the city and county of Denver until 1957. The early presence and gradual expansion of the Loretto Heights campus helped spur and reflected greater development in the area. On campus, the Sisters steadily expanded development following the construction of Pancrasia Hall with a major building campaign in the 1950s, led by a master plan designed by landscape architect Sacco Rank de Boer. This included the 1958 addition of Marion Hall to Pancrasia Hall, designed by architect John Monroe. Like other college campuses in the United States, the Sisters invested in notable architects and landscape architects to design their educational institution. Pancrasia Hall continued this trend. Pancrasia Hall served an educational use for the Sisters of Loretto from its 1930 opening until Loretto Heights College closed in 1988. In summary, the property meets all criteria for historic designation. It is 91 years old. It meets 5 designation criteria, B, C, D, F, and J. It maintains its integrity and relates to several historic contexts and themes. 13 individuals have submitted emails in support of the designation and none in opposition. So staff recommends approval of designating Pancrasia Hall as a structure for preservation. Thank you. I'll take any questions you guys might have.
Thanks. Are there any questions for staff? No?
I have a question. You said that this was going through rehabilitation now and it's following the Secretary of Interior standards. Is this being reviewed then by Park Service and Colorado State Historic Preservation Office as part of that? So they're having an ongoing review of this project as well.
Yep, correct. And the project is using both state and federal rehabilitation tax credits. So both of those entities are reviewing those tax credit applications. In addition to us considering this, or you guys considering this for local designation, this is also seeking National Register designation as well, to be able to utilize those federal rehab tax credits.
Thank you.
Have they reviewed that application yet, the Park Service?
they're in the process of it. This designation would come before the National Register review and approval.
Great. Any other questions? All right. Can we promote the applicant or applicants?
He's been promoted.
Great.
Jim, you're welcome to unmute yourself whenever you're ready.
And please start with your name and address for the record. You have up to 10 minutes.
Hi, my name's Jim Hartman, 2120 Bluebell Avenue in Boulder. And thanks a lot for having us here to consider our application. Jenny, thanks very much for a very thorough summary of all that and all the support through the process of not only Pancrasia's project, but the overall Loretto Heights project. I'd also like to thank my partners who I think are listening in today. Grant Bennett of Proximity Green, he was invaluable putting together this application, and also Susan Ely of Hartman Ely Investments. And last, but certainly not least, all the Sisters of Loretto, some of which are still active in this community. And one of the things that I'd like to just stress is that fairly austere photo that Jenny talked about and showed of Mother Pancrasia. There is another one at the end of our application. I think it's page 31 of 32, if you all want to look. That shows her in a much cheerier mood, and that will be probably enclosed in our welcome letter to the residents. And then when they're late with rent, if they ever are, we will include the more austere photo to get them to catch up on their rent payments. Anyway, that's really a lovely history of the Sisters of Loretto creating this campus, and we're very honored as a team to be part of this. As Jenny mentioned, this will be converted from a classroom and dormitory building into 74 affordable apartments for Denver working families. And that's a really important thing to note. A lot of affordable housing projects are little teeny apartments, 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, a lot of studios. This project will have mostly 2, 3, and 4 bedroom apartments. So very generous size. They work with the existing modules of the classrooms and some of the other spaces like the gymnasium and the chapel. And we've been very cautious and rigorous on the exterior. As Jenny mentioned, the National Park Service has reviewed our applications and they are very happy with the exterior work progressing so far. She mentioned also the financing. Grant Bennett, our partner, has been in charge of all the various complexities of the financing. It's about a $25 million overall redevelopment and very, very complex financing. This designation will help giving us easy and early access to the state historic tax credit money. We're requesting $1 million of that 25 million in state historic tax credits. So that's about all we have to say as applicant. I'm sure if there are questions, we'd be happy to answer those. And we'll just conclude our presentation now. Thanks again.
Great, thank you, Jim. Are there any questions for the applicant? It was just clear as bell. So sounds like we don't have any questions for you. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, actually, one last thing I would like to clarify is on our application, there are 2 building addresses. It's a little bit strange what's happening at Loretto. We started construction as the original address of 3001 South Federal Boulevard. That's the address for the whole campus. Our building number is building 7, as noted on the application. And we're in the process of finishing up all of our construction inspections and permits and stuff. And so when we finish, we will be under a different address, 3144 West Francis Walsh Place. That's named for one of the important other Sisters of Loretto. So I just wanted to clarify why there's 2 addresses on our application. Sorry.
No problem. Thanks for the clarification. That does get a little confusing when it's a campus of buildings that converts into new uses. So, okay, great. Thank you for your time. We'll go ahead and move forward into the public comment period. So if you have a public comment, please raise your hand via the raise hand button at the bottom of your Zoom screen if you're joining via computer, or you can hit *9 on your keypad if you're joining by phone. We did receive, as Jenny had mentioned, we received some written comments in advance, and we've all had the chance to review those, so thank you.
We do have one hand raised. Martha Kirkpatrick, you are welcome to unmute whenever you're ready. And we'll need your name and address, sorry.
And you have up to 3 minutes. So Martha, you can unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. My name is Martha Kirkpatrick. My address is 2339 East Floyd Place, Inglewood 80113. Hello, my name is Martha Newland Kirkpatrick, and I am a graduate of Loretto Heights College. Thank you to the Denver Landmark Preservation Commission for this opportunity to speak on behalf of and in advocacy for the proposed landmark designation of Pancrasia Hall on the Loretta Heights property. I have a very long relationship with Loretta Heights and Pancrasia Hall. I grew up in Bear Valley and could see the campus tower from my bedroom window. Loretta Heights has been part of my life for my entire life. It was my dear mother's dream to send me to Loretta Heights College. I graduated with a Bachelor of Arts degree in 1982. Pancrasia Hall was the very first building on the campus that I entered in the late summer of 1978. It was the home of the financial aid office at the time. I was struck by how welcoming and warm that dark red brick building was. The vision launched by Mother Pancrasia Bonfils in educating young women in a significantly modern way amidst beautiful architecture, surrounded by nature and the incredible view atop Mount Loretto, was honored in the naming of the first new building constructed on the campus property 39 years after the administration building was completed. Pancrasia Hall was designed by Harry Edbrook, nephew of Frank Edbrook, who designed the administration building. Harry Edbrook's design of Pancrasia Hall was a sweeping, graceful rendition of collegiate Gothic architecture. Pancrasia Hall provided dormitory rooms, classrooms, a gymnasium, and a chapel for the academy students, and later for the college students. Pancrasia Hall is being thoughtfully and lovingly restored to its former glory, where it will provide housing for deserving families and individuals who are an integral part of the Southwest Denver community. Landmark designation for this building in particular would honor many who came before. I fully support and request you approving the designation of Pancrasia Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other public comments?
I don't see any other hands raised.
Wow, man, that went quick. All right. Well, if there aren't any other comments, then I'll go ahead and close the hearing so we can move into deliberation. All right, so commissioners, what did everyone think of the application?
Kelly, this is Julie. I think that it meets the criteria, so I am in support of this application. I think the applicants did a great job.
Thanks, Julie.
I would fully support it as well. It's a gorgeous building that I first noticed when I moved to Denver. Anyway, long time ago, and I'm so glad this is happening to it. So yes, I would.
Thanks, George. I see some nodding heads.
Yeah, I don't know that I can add anything, Kelly. I think it's very deserving and the research is compelling. I've been on site and seen the active work on a couple of occasions, and it's an impressive project too that's underway there right now in the restoration and redevelopment. So it's exciting that preservation of this building is a product of that effort.
Erica, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I wanted to say that like Graham, I've been on campus a few times, actually before they started work, and so glad to see this project moving forward. I know there's, as Jim Hartman mentioned in his presentation, the complexities of the financial putting this together to make this happen, but I'm just so glad that it's working, and the rehabilitation is very sensitive, and I'm so glad that the Park Service is approving it so far. It looks like it'll be a great success. So very glad to see this moving forward. I'm also glad to hear about some upcoming designations for the administration building, which is already on the National Register, and the Priest House as well. That's great to hear. So I'm very supportive. I also want to thank everyone who gave their comments, both today and in writing. It was important to hear from the community that has a connection to this place. Thank you.
Well said. Yeah, I would agree with everything that's been said. I think it not only meets the criteria, but exceeds it. And I'm in full support. And although this doesn't have anything to do with our review, it's also really, really great to hear that they're putting affordable housing in there and getting such large units, which is so uncommon. So sounds like a really great use of the building. All right. Well, if there are no other comments, it sounds like we're all in agreement. Who would like to make the motion?
Kelly, I can make the motion.
Thank you.
Oh, and you know what? As I say that, I need to reopen the staff report. Sorry. If someone has it open and can get to it faster than I can, I've got the applicants.
It's on the screen.
Oh, perfect. That's even better. Then, Madam Chair, I would like to recommend approval and forward to City Council the landmark designation of Pancrasia Hall at 3001 South Federal Boulevard, application number 2021L-006, based on designation criteria B, C, D, F, and J, citing as findings of fact for this recommendation the application form, public testimony, and the November 9th, 2021 staff report.
Thanks, Graham.
I'll second.
Thank you, Erica. All right. Then I'll go ahead and call for the vote. George.
Aye.
Brad.
Aye.
Aaron.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Julie.
Aye.
Gary.
Aye.
Erica.
Aye.
Anne.
Aye.
Kelly. Aye. All right, so we have a unanimous vote and the motion passes and gets forwarded on to City Council. So good luck. All right, so that is our only public hearing today. So we'll go ahead and get started with the design review projects. So let's see, there we go. So up on the screen is the design review process. I'll go ahead and announce the project, and then staff will introduce the application and provide their recommendation, at which point we will then hear from the applicant, and the applicant will have up to 10 minutes to present. Then we'll open it up for public comments. And so public comments during this time is 2 minutes per person. The hearing was 3 minutes. It's just a little bit different for design review. When we're done with public comments, we'll go ahead and move into deliberation and make a vote. So we will actually be starting with the project that was pulled off of consent. So that's project number 2021-COA-475 at 675 Santa Fe Drive.
Great, thank you, Kelly. Jen, would you be able to advance back to, yeah. Great, here we go. So thank you very much. Today we're talking about what will no longer be known as the Buyer's Library at 675 Santa Fe Street. It is being renamed the Thunderbird Man Branch Library as part of the City of Denver's ongoing cultural inclusivity initiatives. The current application is to replace existing signage throughout the site and adding a new wall sign above the lintel of the main library door to cover the existing etched stone lintel. As you can see, the letters, this is my fault. Originally, they had submitted to use vinyl lettering. We asked them to change it to acrylic. The applicants did comply with that request, but unfortunately, I uploaded the wrong application to the website. So they are in fact going to do acrylic lettering above the door. However, I believe on the ground sign that's sort of off site, it will still be vinyl, slightly shiny. It's it's the standard material that's used on all libraries, and it will just be exactly what's there already. So staff is recommending approval of this project, but I'm sure the applicants can speak more if you guys have further questions.
Great, thanks, Becca. Are there any questions for staff before we hear from the applicant? No? All right. Then is the applicant present and can we promote them? There we go. When you're ready, go ahead and unmute. You can start whenever you're ready, and please begin with your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Danielle Brooks, Marketing Manager for Denver Public Library. My address is 1014 West, or 10 West 14th Avenue Parkway, Denver, Colorado 80204. As Becca mentioned, so our project here is very straightforward, but we have renamed our 103-year-old historic Carnegie Library after John Thunderbird Man Impula Jr. and are seeking to replace existing signage and or cover existing signage. So the example on the screen here, that is an aluminum plate with acrylic standoff lettering that is painted to match the building's facade. And then there is a wrought iron fence just in front of sort of the courtyard area just off of Santa Fe, where we are also recommending replacing the wrought iron lettering. And then the existing monument sign that is sort of a tall rectangular vinyl lettering covered sign. It has, when Becca said shiny, it's reflective vinyl, so that it's ADA compliant and visible from a distance and has strong contrast. So those are consistent throughout all of our branches. And we're just going to repanel the entire sign. It is a 3-sided sign. And each panel, I believe, is 8 feet tall. So it's a very tall ground, from the ground up sort of sign. So it's a pretty straightforward project, and I'm hoping to answer any questions there may be about it. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Danielle. Gary, yeah, do you want to start with questions?
Yes, I have a question about the sign that's going over the door. And my question relates to the durability of the sign. It's indicated as being an aluminum panel with acrylic raised lettering. Is the lettering, I guess I need a little more description. Are the acrylic letters like individual 3-dimensional letters that are then attached to the aluminum back panel? Is that the construction?
Yes, that is correct. So each is a standoff 3-dimensional letter that will be painted in sort of the black matte so that it's still not intrusive to the design. But each letter is affixed to the panel independently, and should withstand any weather conditions. It's a standard door application.
That was my concern, that the sign that is being put on the library be at least as permanent as the sign that was underneath it that's being covered up. Because it would be a real shame if the sign, the new sign, deteriorated over time, the weathering. So I appreciate the fact that consideration has been made to make it as permanent as possible. Thank you.
Thank you.
I also had a question about that sign. So, and one of the reasons that I requested to pull this off of consent was it looks like in the application that it will be installed using these threaded rods. And so I was wondering, how many of these threaded rods are being used and what's their placement? Is there going to be harm to the original etched stone behind it?
That is a great question. I will actually need to talk further with the sign vendor as far as the depth of the studs themselves. But my understanding is that it would just be a superficial, I would estimate about 1 inch to anchor. The plate itself is only about 3/8 of an inch thick. So the weight to anchor it to the building shouldn't counter the depth, but I can definitely ask about that. The other alternative to the aluminum panel would be just covering the stone in its entirety. And we thought that resurfacing the building would do more damage than determining how many of those posts there may be.
Mm-hmm. And so the quantity of those, do you have an idea of what that is? Like, is it like 1 in each corner or?
My understanding is 1 in each corner, but I might be an additional post on each, so 6 possibly.
Okay.
1, 3 across. The sign itself is about 6 feet long. It may need that third anchor in the middle. So I'll estimate 6, but my first guess was 4.
Gotcha. And the other question I had, I think you've touched on everything else that I was wondering about that sign, but there's the sign that's on the fence that was mentioned. So the fence is staying as is, and then the letters are just being replaced kind of to match the existing and the size and font and everything, just the new name. Is that?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right. I think those were my only questions. Any other questions for the applicant? No?
Kelly, I'm glad you asked about the anchors because I had the same thought. I think that's a friendly comment or suggestion to, if layout is possible to help preserve that historic sign underneath. So I'm glad you said that, but otherwise, no.
Okay. Well, thanks for your time, Danielle.
Thank you.
All right. I'm guessing there probably aren't since this was on consent, but are there any public comments on this project? Please use the hand raise button or *9 at this time. Okay. Jen, I didn't hear you, but I saw you mouth the words that you didn't see any hands raised. I can't hear you. Can anybody else? Okay. All right. So if there are no public comments on this project, then let's move into deliberation. Unless, Becca, did you have any recap or are we good?
No, just to apologize once again. Oh, Anne has a question.
Yeah.
I have a question for Becca, because I had the same concern about the attachment. In a case like this, is it a requirement that the new sign be reversible?
That's a great question. I think generally we do really encourage people to make their signs reversible, or often to put the studs within the mortar joints. In this case, there doesn't seem to be any mortar joints on the lintel, so that wasn't a requirement. We could request. So normally we do try and go for that.
Gary, did you have something to?
Well, I have a question because, that's something that I just assumed could be repairable, but I guess I was assuming that the material of the original sign is stone.
Mhm.
The holes you repaired at a later date. But if it in fact is terracotta, that's a different story. So Becca, do you know what that material might be?
I'm pretty sure it's stone.
Yeah, can you guys hear me at all?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, all right. Okay. So yeah, I went out there because there was a question about the repair of that material last year or 2 years ago, and I took a look, and that area is all stone.
So Becca, you mentioned that you had uploaded the wrong application accidentally. So does the newer application, does it actually show?
Unfortunately, it doesn't. It shows the acrylic push-through letters, but it doesn't show how many studs there would be.
Does it show anything about the monumental ground sign or the fence sign?
It just shows the image of them that was included in your packet.
Okay.
Of where they're located. I think because they were just going to be replaced in kind, the vendor didn't include that information.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Well, let's move into deliberation then. I guess I'll go ahead and get started since I was the one who pulled this off of consent. Sorry, everybody. I know we've got a long agenda today. My concerns were, the attaching to the existing stone and whether that would damage the material, which is addressed in guideline 6.9 about preserving the character defining features of a historic building when installing a sign, and minimizing the number of sign anchor points when mounting into masonry and limiting physical damage. So I was concerned about that. And so that was one of the reasons. And then I also the existing photos, although helpful, of the two other signs, I mean, maybe if even there was just like a call out that said there was work being done, I just felt a little uncomfortable approving something where there's nothing listed to be done there. Like, even if there doesn't, I guess I'd be comfortable even if it wasn't a new mock-up of the revised sign, but if it just even called out on the existing photo, like replace, to match existing with this, name. It just felt a little concerning to me to be approving something without any conditions when there was little information in the submittal. Yeah, Becca?
I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but in the quote that was provided in your application, the quote that's 3054, it did include that information about what was being replaced with the reflective test and the base color. Would you like more than that? Because we can, I just if that is enough for you, that would be, I just want to double check.
In the quote?
Yeah, that was included. It's on page 6 and 7.
Yeah, okay. Well, I don't know. I thought it was a little confusing how it's laid out. I guess they do separate it out as two separate signs and say install over fence for one of them. So maybe that's enough. It seemed like there was enough off, like the name was wrong, the work wasn't clearly identified, the anchors weren't very clear. I just thought it might be cleaner if we did a conditional approval rather than just a straight approval.
Okay.
I guess we thought.
I'll be quiet now. Thank you.
No, you're fine. That was a good point. And then I was wondering if reflective vinyl would be acceptable because our guidelines state not to use reflective lettering, but it sounds like that's a standard for DPL and that it helps with ADA. I think that I'm less concerned about that on the monumental sign, because that doesn't look, it's not like attached to the building and it's clearly new. So I don't have any concerns about the intent. I just think maybe a few conditions to make sure these things get picked up in the application and that the anchoring is minimal and doesn't negatively impact that historic stone. What does everybody else think?
Yeah, I'm in favor of a condition that says that the anchoring has to be reversible, because it also seems to me you could anchor it from the side and not go back at all. And that probably the side, I don't know what's on the sides, but it's probably easier to repair that should the time ever come when the sign needs to be removed.
Another thought, yeah. Gary, did you have something?
I think I want to avoid being overly prescriptive about how to attach the sign because of our concern about reversibility. If the existing material, backup material, is stone and it's not granite, it's a sedimentary stone, I suspect, or it might be it might be volcanic tuff. I just can't remember. But holes are easy enough to repair and fill at that point, if that point ever should occur. And as far as reversibility is concerned, I'd hate to kind of be overly prescriptive in such a way that the mounting of the sign is not substantial enough to withstand whatever weathering, exposure that it would encounter. If the material is only 3/8 of an inch thick, its length is such that it'll need multiple attachment points. And so I think other than just talking about our concern, I don't want to, say you have to mount it from the end, or I think we've expressed our concern adequately enough that the condition should be cautious about how we talk about it.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Gary. We don't want to design it for them. And maybe if we have a condition that just says to clarify quantity and location of, fasteners to minimize damage to the existing facade or something like that. And then Becca, hopefully that gives you enough to, I think what we really want, or what I really want, I should not speak for everyone. What I'm looking for is that it would just ensure that it's not damaging kind of like the lettering behind and things that would be harder to repair if it were removed later. Any other thoughts on this? Is everyone kind of on the same page?
I think the solution you hit on is probably the best one. If the lettering can survive the mounting without any damage, then I think, like Gary said, we can't be too prescriptive on how it's put up. Just let them know that we're concerned about the lettering and the substrate, and let them decide it.
Mm-hmm. All right. And so we've got the condition about attaching. Do we also maybe need a condition about updating the elevation to reflect the new name?
I didn't think we reviewed content. On the...
Thank you, Erin. Yes. Okay, great. Well, who's going to make the motion? I saw Gary writing, I think. No?
I can make the motion, Kelly.
Thank you, Brad.
I move to approve application number 2021-COA-475 for the re-signage at 675 Santa Fe as per design guide 6. Can I start over? I need to say conditionally approve, I believe. Let me start over here, please. I move to conditionally approve application number 2021-COA-475 for the re-signage at 675 Santa Fe as per design guide 6.1, 6.5, 6.7, 6.8, presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report with the following condition. The new signage anchorage should be kept to a minimum into the existing stone to minimize damage to that stone.
Thank you, Brad. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Erin. And I'd like to make a friendly amendment to include design guidelines 6.9 and 6.11. 6.9 is preserving the character defining features of a historic building when installing the sign, and 6.11 is retaining an existing historic sign. Brad, do you accept
I accept that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Erin?
Yep.
Yeah, I accept as well.
Okay, thanks. Any other discussion on the motion? All right, and I'll call for the vote. George?
Aye.
Brad?
Aye.
Erin?
Aye.
Graham?
Sorry, my mouse disappeared off the screen. Aye.
Thank you. Julie?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
Anne?
Aye.
Kelly? Aye. All right, so we have a unanimous vote and the motion passes. So the next project up for design review is project number 2021-COA-461 at 164 Lafayette Street. Jesse, go ahead. We can't hear you. Okay, I think I am getting better at reading lips and she's going to rejoin in a second.
Yeah, that happened to me and just leave and come back.
Okay.
Yay.
Something
City
going on
technology
with the
seems to be
computers.
doing real well today.
Yeah. Hi, Jesse.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right, I don't know what happened because when I did my sound check earlier, everything worked fine. All right, let's get to it. So this is 164 Lafayette Street. It was constructed in 1907 and is a contributing building to the Country Club Historic District. The applicant is requesting to replace several windows and doors, make alterations to the entry porch and rail, construct rear patios and pergolas, construct a rear addition, and install an HVAC unit and exterior lights. Staff would like to note that the proposed windows for replacement windows are simulated divided lights. However, they do not have a spacer bar, so that spacer bar will need to be added as part of our requirements for divided light windows and doors. Okay, it's not letting me change the screen. So pictured here is the existing and proposed site plan. Here you can see the proposed HVAC unit that is located right here. I don't know if you can see my mouse, just behind the entry porch. And you can also see the addition at the back of the house and the pergola proposed at the back of the house. So pictured here is the existing demolition plan and proposed basement level plan. Here you can see the proposal for an egress window on the front of the house on the non-historic side addition. Pictured here is the existing demolition and proposed plan for the main level. Give you a second to take a look at that. Move on now. And then pictured here is the existing demolition and proposed upper level plan. And then finally, the existing demolition and proposed roof plan. So in the demo plan, you can see where they're proposing to remove a rear dormer to accommodate the new rear addition. This is completely at the back of the house and would not be readily visible from public vantage points. So here is the existing and proposed south elevation. The applicant is proposing to replace windows L1, L2, L3, and these are at the basement level. These windows are non-historic and will be replaced with aluminum clad wood awning windows to match the existing window appearance. The applicant is proposing to replace window M6A through D, which is a non-historic 8-light casement window located on the side addition. And they will be replacing that with an 8-light divided light aluminum clad wood casement window to match the existing window configuration on the main level of that side addition. And finally, on this elevation, the applicant is proposing to install a new egress window labeled as L4 at the basement level on the non-historic side addition. So window L4 will be a set of 6/1 divided light aluminum clad wood casement windows, similar to the window configurations found elsewhere on the house. Staff would like to note that the proposed egress window well will be terraced, which is atypical and makes the egress well quite large. The egress window and well will be mostly below grade and not readily visible from public vantage points, however. So if the commission is concerned with the oversized well, they may make a condition for the egress well to be a standard size. However, staff wasn't too necessarily concerned with the terracing, as, like I said, it would be not as readily visible from public vantage points. So here is the existing and proposed west elevation. The applicant is proposing to replace door 101 located on the ground floor with a new aluminum clad wood divided light door. The applicant will also be replacing window U11, a non-historic window with a 6/1 aluminum clad wood double hung window to match the appearance of the existing window. In addition to the window replacement, the applicant is proposing to move the existing rail up 3 inches to meet building code. Staff would also like to correct, in the staff report, we had quoted that they were going to maintain the existing tile at the entry porch. However, closer look did show that they are proposing to replace that entry tile, and I will go over that here in a second. So here's the existing historic entry door that is being proposed for replacement. Staff does feel that the etched glass may be non-historic, but the hardware on the door and the overall appearance of the door does make it look like it is original to the house. Staff would be supportive of maintaining this door as it appears to be in good condition. And they're proposing to replace it with this multi-light, full light door, which staff feels does not match the period or style of the house and does not match the existing appearance of the historic door that is currently on the house. So staff would recommend maintaining and repairing the existing door rather than replacing it. And then here, as I said before, this is the historic entry tile. It's shown in the demolition plan for removal, and they're proposing to replace it with a bluestone material. The existing historic tile does appear to be in good condition. And staff would also like to note that the proposed bluestone tile is not necessarily contextual. It's not commonly found, or it's not a historic material found in this district. So we would not be supportive of replacement with this material. However, staff would like to note they are proposing the same material for some rear patios, which may be appropriate, as it would not be readily visible from public vantage points. So staff's recommendation for this tile would be to maintain it rather than replace it. Okay. So also, oops, I skipped ahead here. So pictured here is the existing and proposed north elevation. The applicant is proposing to replace door 108 located on the ground floor with of the non-historic rear addition with a 6-light aluminum clad wood patio door. A new 4-light transom window labeled M6 will be added above door 108 on the non-historic rear addition. Additionally, window M12, a set of 8-light casement windows located on the ground floor of the rear addition will be enlarged to fit aluminum clad wood fixed light 6-light windows flanked by 2 6-light casement windows. And these are labeled as M15. Window and door combination M103A through B, located on the ground floor of the non-historic side addition, will be converted into a set of aluminum clad wood French doors labeled as 103. And then window U9 located on the second floor is a non-historic 6/1 double hung window. The window will be converted into a set of 6/1 aluminum clad wood casement windows labeled as U14. And finally, the applicant will be demolishing a historic dormer as shown on the left image. And they will be constructing a new addition on top of the non-historic rear addition, installing 2 new patios and a pergola. Oops. The applicant is requesting to demolish rear historic dormer on the north elevation and construct a new addition. The addition will add a second story onto the non-historic rear addition. And the addition will measure 7 feet by 13 feet 6 inches and will be 10 feet 4 1/4 inches in height. The addition will have a flat roof clad in roofing membrane, as well as a small section that will have a racing metal roofing material. The addition will be clad in standard modular brick that will be painted to match the brick on the house. The addition windows will be aluminum clad wood awning windows and casement style windows with a divided light pattern similar to the windows on the house. They aren't an exact map, but they do allow the addition to be identifiable as modern. And they still allude to that kind of divided light pattern that is on the rest of the house. The applicant will need to indicate in the drawings that the addition windows will be inset 2 inches in the wall per the commission's past requirements. And then on top of that, the applicant is proposing to construct 2 new rear patios, installing stepping stones. Those are all pictured here. The stepping stones will be behind the entryway shown in the picture on the left. They will be adding a raised patio measuring 15 feet 7 inches by 12 feet 8 1/2 inches. And that will be located on the northeast corner of the house behind the non-historic side addition. They will add another patio with a pergola, which will be located on the northwest corner of the house behind the non-historic rear addition. That patio will measure 22 feet 6 inches by 12 feet 5 inches. And the pergola will measure 12 feet 2 inches by 9 feet 9 inches and will be 10 feet in height. The applicant is proposing to install those stepping stones again on the west side of the house leading to the rear yard. The patio pavers and stepping stones will be Blue Lake bluestone tiles. And as staff said before, adding the bluestone here may be more appropriate as it's not readily visible from public vantage points and it's located at the back of the house. So here's the existing and proposed east elevation. The applicant is proposing to replace windows M7A through D and M8A through D on the non-historic side addition. Windows 7A through D and M8A through D are to be replaced with 8-light aluminum clad wood casement windows to match the existing windows. The applicant is also proposing to alter windows M104A through C, which is a historic 10-light casement window with an arched stained glass transom. The applicant is proposing to replace the casement windows with a set of French doors and will be restoring and reinstalling the stained glass transom back over top. Windows M11 is a pair, M11 is a pair of 8 light casement windows located on the non-historic rear addition. The applicant is proposing to replace these windows with 6 light aluminum clad wood casement windows. Window U5 and U6 are located on the east elevation at the 2nd floor. These are non-historic 1/1 double hung windows. The applicant is proposing to replace these windows with aluminum clad wood 6/1 double hung windows to create a more consistent look with other windows on the rest of the house. Window U8, located on the east elevation at the 2nd floor, is a non-historic window that is to be infilled and will need to be recessed 2 inches. 2 new windows, both labeled as U12 at the 2nd floor, will be added on either side of window U8. Windows U12 will also be 6/1 aluminum clad wood windows to match other historic windows elsewhere on the house. So here's that historic casement window with the stained glass. Oh, skipped ahead. Here is the historic stained glass window, transom window with the casements below. The applicant is proposing again to replace these with the casement windows anyways with a set of French doors. Staff felt that maybe some flexibility could be applied here, even though the lower portion is also historic. It is located behind that non-historic side addition and isn't readily visible from public vantage points. So staff felt that maybe we could provide some flexibility on the lower portion of the casement windows to convert them into French doors. 1, because they won't be readily visible, and 2, because the configuration will be similar to what is currently seen with those casement windows. And also our other factor in thinking that flexibility could be provided was that they are going to maintain that stained glass transom window over the top. Okay, so finally, the applicant will be adding a new mechanical unit on the west side of the house behind the entry porch and simple wall sconces that will be added to the patio on the northeast side of the house. So with the HVAC unit, staff felt that it was tucked behind that entry porch and would not be readily visible. So we are supportive of its placement there. And staff also was supportive of the exterior lights as they have a modern appearance to them and will be minimally visible from public vantage points. So staff is recommending approval of the application. And I'll have to, pardon me, don't have, for some reason, it didn't save my notes on the approval. But staff is recommending approval with the condition that the front door be maintained, that the front porch tile be maintained, that the addition windows be inset 2 inches. And I believe there was one more motion.
A spacer bar.
Spacer bar, yes, correct. And that a spacer bar be added. So we're recommending conditional approval with those 4 conditions. If you need me to repeat them, I'm more than happy to do that. And I believe I added guideline 2.20 for the porch condition.
Great. Well, thank you, Jessie. Any questions for staff? Yeah, Erica.
Yeah, you may not have the answers, Jessie, and I'm happy to ask the applicant, but do you have a sense of, with the railing at the entry porch, it's supposed to be lifted 3 inches, but I'm unclear how that's going to be achieved. Are they putting in new bases for it? I just am a little confused as to how that's supposed to be accomplished. And one other thing, I believe all the elevations are miscorrectly labeled with wrong cardinal directions.
Okay. So with the raised railing, let me try and go back, and I don't know if I can zoom in on this enough. but you can see in the drawings where they have it lifted. They may be able to better provide information on how exactly they're going to accomplish that. Yeah, I can't zoom in any further, but you can see that they are shifting it up 3 inches. There are some posts at the bottom that are kind of floating. So my assumption was that they were going to attach it 3 inches higher at the where it attaches to the entry porch, but they can certainly provide that additional detail if you need it. And then correcting the cardinal directions, that can also be an easy condition that's added to this application.
Any other questions? Yeah, Ian.
Hi, Jesse, I have a question. Do you know the approximate date of the addition?
I do not.
All right, any other questions? No. Okay.
I actually have one question, Kelly.
Yeah, go ahead.
When you talk about replacing or repairing the existing door, what are your thoughts on the etching on the glass? Is that included in the repair? Do you think that is part of the original?
So I am of the opinion that that etched glass is not likely original. That if they were to replace the glazing on that door, it would not require a permit and therefore would not require landmark review. So if they're wanting to get additional light into that area, they could easily remove that etched glass and put in a solid pane of glass, and it wouldn't even require our review.
Thank you.
All right.
One question.
Yes, sir.
The infill window needs to be set in 2 inches also. Is that to signify that there was a window here? Does it need to be? I've seen decorative brickwork in those, in that square inset area. Is that a requirement also? Because otherwise it'll just look like a border. So
we typically just require the 2-inch inset for infilled windows, and that's just to keep that shadow line an indication of where that historic window opening was. We don't necessarily require that they do a different brick pattern in there. However, they could if they wanted to recommend that. Our main concern is just keeping that shadow line and that outline of the original window intact.
there was a window here. Okay.
Great. It looks like the applicants are here. So you can go ahead and unmute yourself when you're ready. You have up to 10 minutes, and please start with your names and addresses.
Hi, my name's Robin Bryant. My address is 4255 Jason Street, Suite 100, Denver, Colorado, 80211.
And then my name is Brian Duncan, and the same address.
So we're making the proposal for the modifications to 164 North Lafayette Street. Jesse, I wasn't sure if you had the presentation that I sent you ready or if I needed to share my screen.
That's what I was just raising my hand for. Jen, if you wouldn't mind bringing up their presentation.
Yeah, hold on a second. Sorry about that. I'm going to stop sharing. There we go. Let's see. New share. There it is. And I've stopped your time, so you're I'm not eating into your time. Okay, that should do it.
All right. Well, thank you, Jesse, so much for your introduction. You actually covered half of the things that I was going to talk about. So you helped me save a little bit of my time. So as Jesse said, built in 1907. We believe this house is, traditional Denver square with a few eclectic revival detailing. It obviously has prairie style influence, but we also feel like it has a little bit of Italian Renaissance and classical influence as well. All right, next slide, please. So I've attached some perspective drawings of the proposed addition areas. So from the front elevation at the top right, you can see where we're proposing the window well, and forgive me, I don't have my window grids on this elevation. So what Jesse presented is what we're proposing. So you can kind of see the effect of the window well from the street. I've also included a small detail. We are proposing to landscape the inside of the window well, so it won't just be, filled with concrete. We want to make that a beautiful space and make that bedroom a great area for the house. In the rear at the bottom left, you can see the concept for the new patio areas, the second floor addition over the existing addition. And I was able to get the window lights to match the existing design. Next slide, please. This is a photo of the proposed or of the existing walkway, which Jessie had in her presentation, and the existing railing. So the homeowner would like to update the existing patio just to make it a little bit more contemporary, while the existing terracotta tiles are in good condition at the top. At the edges of the steps, there is some chipping, which is not which she would like to either repair or replace. So that kind of prompted us for replacing the surface of the entryway. Did you want to add something, Brian?
So with the railing was to be cut at the surface it is right now. That was just to accommodate the new thickness of the new stone if we do resurface that patio. So if it is more of, you guys would recommend us to repair and keep the existing terracotta tile look, the railing would not need to be touched. For the question right before we started to do with what our plan was to reattach the railing, the plan was just to cut it off of the terracotta tile flat, and then we would create a steel sleeve that it would slide back in so that we could adjust the height up to the new location. And then where it attaches to the existing brick of that entry, it's just a bolt anchor there, so that bolt would be cut and then a new anchor would be put in a grout line or a little bit higher up where required, just so that we maintain the requirements for the 3 feet handrails for life safety.
One of the other things that the homeowner would also be open to, knowing that the bluestone is not an indigenous stone to this area, is they would be open, if we are able to resurface, they'd be open to looking at like a Colorado buff or a Colorado red sandstone in a larger ashlar pattern, if the commission finds it appropriate. Next slide, please. So this slide kind of shows the existing front door and the relationship to the street. So per your questions, the etching that is shown on the existing door is a decal. So we believe that can be easily removed. But I would like to point out on the approach to the house, so the pictures to the left, since the entry is 20 feet back from the front facade of the house and it's enclosed within a portico, there's very little street facing presence of the existing historic door. I even walked across the street and tried to get the widest angle of the door at the bottom left, and it still is very difficult to see. Part of the reason that we're proposing the change of the front door is that the homeowner would like to reverse the operation of the door to become an outswing door. And if you go to the next, can you go 2 slides instead of just, yep. So if you look at the existing foyer entry, the foyer is actually on the landing of the internal staircase. So it's very, very narrow. It's only 3 feet 7 inches deep. So if we were able to reverse the swing of the door so that it had an outswing, it would help the homeowner in 3 ways. If we had a 15 light door with a little bit larger light pattern, it would allow more light into the room. It would also allow her to have a little bit more safety in that landing area, because currently when she opens the door, you can see in the bottom left-hand picture, there's a historic radiator there. So she can't even get to the left-hand side of the door to pull it in and operate it without having to step backwards and either up onto a step or to like pin herself behind the door between the other two doors in the hallway. So that was kind of the prompt to, one, change the door to an outswing, and to two, modify the patio pavers, because if we were to change the door to an outswing, the IRC would require us to raise the surface landing to only 1.5 inches below the door. So that kind of prompted the change to resurface the entry portico. Would you mind going backwards one slide, please? So the reason we chose a 15 light door is one, to kind of tie into the existing historic windows that are kind of 6/1 light, which are reflective of the prairie style. But also we felt like this house has a little bit of Italian Renaissance or classical detailing. And so we felt a 15 light door was appropriate. I actually used the Field Guide to American Architecture to make sure that my suggestions are appropriate to the typical style. So I kind of pulled two sheets out of those guides. So in the middle, you can see the Italian Renaissance page. The top two doors kind of show a 15 light door inside kind of a pediment, and the front entry door does have that shrouded, hooded brick detail over the front entry door. So we felt that that was an appropriate look. Did you have anything else to add, Brian?
I think the only other comment I had from the homeowner was her concern with having the stairs there and all the in-swing doors. Was she does have two smaller children, a little bit of concern with just the safety of those steps and everything around there with all those doors. That is it.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions for the applicants? Yeah, Graham. You're on mute.
I even unclicked it. That's 3 times today. That's some kind of strikeout, isn't it? The transom over the casement windows that are becoming a French door. I was just curious whether those sash would be removed and if that whole frame was being reinstalled, or if that existing kind of 3-part casement window was being cut at the horizontal mullion. Just, I guess, a little bit of detail on how those new and old elements would interact with each other.
Yeah, so from my understanding, we had the window evaluator come out to make sure they're historic or not. So I think it was 3 of the 4 like separations of the stained glass are actually buckling and pushing the stained glass out into the room. So he recommended to take everything out when we do it and then restore the transom and put that in, and then have the door go underneath, and then having kind of the framing of the top of the door be the support for that. Because somewhere there's some sort of pressure going on that's buckling the stained glass out into the room. So he was recommending taking it all out, restoring it, and then reinstalling it on top of the door.
And then that stained glass that is restored would go back in its original frame above, but the new French door would be a partially new frame below then, is that correct?
Yep, and then I believe the top of the door would kind of be the support just to make sure the buckling doesn't occur again.
Sounds good. A lot of times that may be even just internal to the way the windows were originally made, just as a friendly comment. So, but making sure that that transom is well supported is a good step for sure. I was just curious whether those would be retrofitted into something new or maintaining that existing transom, but thank you for clarifying.
Great. Any other questions? Yeah, Anne.
Hi, I'm wondering if you know what is the date of the non-historic addition?
We cannot find any dates for either of the additions. The biggest note, like, we couldn't find many of the dates or anything for it. And then when looking at the windows and stuff, you could just tell that it was added on at a later date. And then even the openings into those areas where they cut new openings to access those areas, they're not trimmed in the same way, and they're done in different arch styles than the original house.
Great. Any other questions? All right. Well, thank you for your time. Are there any public comments for this project? Please use the hand raise button at this time.
I am not seeing any hands raised. No.
Okay, yeah, Jesse.
Yeah, so quickly for staff feedback, I just wanted to correct, I said guideline 2.20. It's actually guideline 2.34 that addresses the porch stoop. So if you guys wanted to keep that as a condition in the motion, you would reference guideline 2.34.
Instead of 2.20.
Correct. 2.20 is for windows.
Thank you.
Can I?
Yeah, Anne.
Can I ask a question? I'm sorry just to keep harping on this, but how do you know that the back addition is non-historic? I mean, I guess there are two additions to the house, and one, the applicant has said they don't know the date of either one. And is there a way that you know that the rear addition is non-historic, was built outside of the?
I can certainly look up the Sanborn maps, but if you look at the photos of that or the drawings of that, you can see that the openings have been altered significantly. So it does appear like it is a non-historic addition, or if it was ever historic, it was altered significantly outside of the period of significance. So that's where I'm drawing that. But if you really want me to look up Sanborns, I'm more than happy to do that. A Sanborn map is included in the staff brief. You can see that there is a one-story addition, but like I said, those openings have been altered significantly, that staff felt comfortable that it no longer had integrity. Additionally, this addition is at the back of the house, and the commission has allowed alterations or additions to historic additions if they're on the back of the house in the past due to visibility. So staff felt pretty comfortable with the alterations that they're proposing for this existing addition, as well as the proposed addition on top of that.
Thanks. Okay, let's move into deliberation. Thoughts?
This is certainly an indication of project creep, I think. When the presentation started, I was really wanting to maintain the terracotta walkway into the front entrance. And then there is the height to the stoop, and then we see the door swing, and then we see, having seen the conditions on the inside that the applicant has to cope with, reluctantly, I can forego the terracotta walkway for the added safety of the kids and the ability to open and close a door more conveniently when you've got an armload of groceries or stuff like that. And also because Jesse took the trouble to really go outside the scope and take a look at how much of that door you can really see from across the street. Yep, I can give up the terracotta and let them change the door swing, because I think that's a safety issue as well as just a convenience issue as well. I would rather have them repair the terracotta. If it has to be taken out, I would prefer a Colorado sandstone or a buff color rather than the bluestone. But it presented with what we are presented with, I can see the reasons for all of that. So yeah, I can approve the front door and the walkway replacement if they can make the walkway a little more compatible. Is that clear?
Yeah, so let's get some other thoughts on the front porch. Gary, yeah.
If in fact we come to a consensus that modifying the door to swing out is the consensus, I would go along with George's thoughts about replacing the tile and so forth, but I would recommend that they modify the existing door leaf and reuse that, because it can be modified to swing out. I mean, a good carpenter can do whatever patching and re-prepping necessary to make it swing out, to reuse the original hardware and to maintain the original door configuration. I think swapping the door that exists for a different style door is not necessary, and I would want to avoid that.
Thanks, Gary. I see some nodding heads.
Yeah, I'll echo that, Kelly. And I think that the clarification Jesse made about being able to swap the glass is something that, again, in that original door leaf, with safety and visibility, but even if, safety from a thickness of glass or other perspective, a different type or style of glass could likely still be fit successfully into that door. And so I too think that there's a good argument for keeping the original front door, even if it is rehinged or swung to the exterior, which practically does make a lot of sense based on the applicant's description.
I can move on that if it's only a film in the back. Well, for gosh sakes, you can get that off fairly easily and curtain the glass if you need to see out or who's calling. But switching the door swing, that really isn't a huge deal to a crafty sort of person. So yeah, I think puts a finer point on what my thoughts were. So you can retain the terracotta. But wasn't there an issue with the height of the step right outside the front door?
Yeah, that's what the applicant said. And Jesse, if you want to chime in.
I believe that if you alter the opening, then you have to bring other parts of that opening up to code. And the issue is that it would be too high. So in order to have the correct entry height, they had to increase the height of the tile, which is why they were proposing the stone as well. It wasn't just for aesthetic reasons. They were also adding it so that they could get additional heights at the threshold. So I don't know if you're maintaining the existing historic door and just changing the swing, if that still comes into play with the threshold height.
That would be it, yeah.
That would be a good question to ask, because that would also impact whether or not that tile height needed to change.
Are you saying that to ask the applicant?
I believe so. Jen, unless you know anything in the building code that jumps right out at you regarding maintaining the existing door, just changing the swing.
I don't know at all.
Sorry. Yeah, if I think the applicant had a little time left anyway, but since we just have the question for them, if we could get them back to ask that'd be good, just to make sure we don't propose any conditions that don't work.
Crystal, I'll move him back. Oh, Crystal moved. Beat me to it.
Great. So Robin and Brian, if you could kind of address that question, if you flip the door to be out swinging, are you required to raise that height then?
Yeah, so I had a preliminary meeting with zoning, and he pointed that out right away, that we'd have to bring it up to where it's within 1.5 inches, I think is the largest drop you can have of it. And I believe on my plan, I have the specific section of the code that states that listed on that plan. We were trying to pull it up quick, but there is a specific section.
Okay.
I think I called it out on the site plan or the floor plan, but yeah, he said you would have to bring it up to be within that 1.5. And I think right now we're at 4 inches of drop outside that door.
I think the floor plan pages are on pages 16 through 18 of the full application package.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Oh yeah, I see that. Threshold to comply with IRC R311.3.1. And just commissioners, for reference, that's A-1.1 is the sheet number that's on. There's a note pointing to that door, which is door 101 on the top of the sheet. Plan north. So, and then that's going to require you to bring up the railing. So, gotcha. Thanks for clarifying that.
Okay, so keep the door, raise the walk, and change the swing.
Okay, so yeah, let's move back to this. So commissioners generally feel that changing the door to being outswinging makes sense given the applicant's presentation. And that as a result, that would require bringing the threshold up and resurfacing the porch and bringing the railing up. Were there any, so I've heard a couple comments about, George, you mentioned to have a more compatible or appropriate stone instead
I
of.
stick with that, yeah.
Yeah. Does everyone, just nodding heads, agree with that? Are we kind of all on the same page there? Erica, you had brought up some questions about the railing. Are you good with what the applicant had mentioned?
Yeah, that makes sense. I might want to see a condition just to provide some detail on that, so that we know, or that it's documented what that's going to be.
Yeah, I think that's appropriate. That's a good idea. Okay, so it sounds like we're all in agreement on the main entry, so maybe we can move forward. I'm just pulling up the conditions here. So we talked about door 101. And then the other conditions were recommended conditions were to have the spacer bar in the windows, which is one of our standards, and the 2-inch inset in the wall, which is again another one of our standards. So I don't see any issue with that. Now, I know a few people had brought up the additions, and Anne specifically, did you have any concern about the addition?
I do. I'm looking at guideline 3.7, design the roof of a new addition to be compatible with the original structure and surrounding historic content. And I think this is something that we've been through before. I understand that this is at the back of the house, and often we give a great deal of leeway to that. However, I find this roof to be not compatible with the existing roof.
How did everybody else feel about that? Any concerns with the addition roof?
Does bite into that prairie overhang. So it's a.
Kelly, I don't disagree with Anne that I think the addition itself, whether the first story addition, is a contributing or historic, that kind of that second level, we heard a lot about some of the revival or classical detailing in the sort of base Denver Square massing. I feel like the second floor addition has a bit of an international style to it, with that strong glazing in the corner and a very square mass, which is an awesome and unique architectural style as well, but not one that we talked about, but kind of in the context of the rest of the historic, character of this property, in the presentations and staff reports so far. So I do see being in the back and being below the roof ridge and some subordinates there, but I don't disagree with Anne that I think a slightly different roof line might even further make that addition subordinate.
Yeah, any other thoughts? Does everyone feel that way? Yeah, Erica, how do you?
Yeah, I guess I'll just weigh in that this is one of the reasons why I was concerned about the elevation labeling, because of understanding what was going on here and seeing this addition as something that I was unclear. It took me a while to figure out, is this being seen from the side? I understand now that it is at the rear. However, I do agree that I think there's just an opportunity to truly meet the guidelines by having this be looked at again and re-examined for a roof line that matches or is subordinate to the existing.
All right, I'm just trying to gauge a pulse. So it sounds like we've got 3 commissioners who feel this is worth restudying, that the current roof does not meet that guideline that Anne pointed out, which I am forgetting. Anne, which one was that? 3.7. So Aaron, Julie, Gary, George, Brad, are you all in agreement with the roof comment? Yes.
I am in agreement.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm glad I made it. Thank you.
I am too.
All right.
So I guess I'm not there. I think this is a small addition. It's to the back. The addition that is below it is a flat roof as well. So I don't have as big a concern, I think, as everybody else has with it. I think it's a simple, flat roof. It doesn't compete with the primary roof, and then again, it's not really visible from the main public, vantage point. I think we've approved similar conditions before, and I think this one actually is pretty small in terms of that. So I personally don't have those same concerns. I think it actually meets the guidelines.
Brad, I'm in agreement with you. I guess, let me put it this way. If there was a different roof line, it could very well still meet the guidelines. Like, I wouldn't be opposed to that. But I don't see this not meeting the guidelines for the same reasons that you mentioned, that it's at the rear and that the first floor addition is also a flat roof with a parapet like that, with no kind of ornamentation at the top. So, and it's below the ridge line, as was mentioned previously, which is one of the things that is pointed out in our guidelines. So I'm comfortable with either approach. Yeah, Gary.
I think the comment about the addition being more of an international style, primarily because of that corner window, is what really creates the compatibility concern. It's not the roof line, it's that corner window, which says, Coral Gables, Miami, international style architecture. And I think, if the window configuration was changed, the objection to the flat roof and parapet would be mitigated quite a bit. So I think it's a conflicting style that becomes the compatibility issue. It's not just a flat roof, it's that corner window. And it's the size of the corner window. It really does say, this is an international style addition to a Denver square with, it's too eclectic.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree with you, Gary, about the windows. I guess I just think it's Brad, you had mentioned we've approved similar kind of things in the past, and I would agree with that at the rear we have approved some very large windows that are more contemporary than the primary structure or historic structure. So because this is completely at the rear, I personally am not concerned about it. Is it what I would design? Maybe not, but it's not going to be visible from the public right away.
Well, Kelly, can I just mention, I've actually thought about this a lot. And what if, and I actually question some of the things that and I have in the past, some of the things that we have approved in the rear, because putting something in the rear doesn't give you license to just put in anything. And one of the reasons I am supportive of guideline 3.7 is that I think we're going down a slippery path to say it's at the rear and we've done this before, and it does not have to meet guideline 3.7, which I believe this one doesn't.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, so it sounds like we're all in agreement on the front porch, and I'm saying front, but really it's the side. And it's really just this addition roof, but it sounds like 7 out of 9 commissioners are on the same page about this. So I would suggest that someone make a motion and we can see how that falls.
Madam Chair, I'm happy to try a motion here. I just wanted to confirm, Jesse, at one point you had mentioned a guideline. It was a 3-point something guideline with respect to the front porch. I didn't want to miss out on that as we were talking about the conditions of the front porch, although that may have evolved with our door and tile conversation as well.
Quite all right. Yeah, so with the existing historic door, maintaining that, but changing the swing, you'll reference guideline 2.15. For the alteration of the tile, but using a buff material or Colorado sandstone material, you would reference guideline 2.34. Then for the simulated divided light with a spacer bar, you would reference guideline 2.20. And then for the 2-inch inset, you would reference guideline 3.6. Clear as mud?
Clear as mud. I think the one that's not in your current motion was 2.34, which will-
Correct. Yes. Yeah. I
Okay.
added that in.
Sounds good. And yeah, so I guess what I'll try here, I'm going to try and split the difference, Kelly, because I think the conditional approval still feels good here based on the temperature of our deliberation with respect to the rear addition, roof line, and windows. If other commissioners feel like that's something that can be worked through with Jesse and staff. So I'll give it a shot and we can see what people think. That being said,
Jesse, sorry.
Sorry, just real quick with the, because we discussed the railing height change too. You could also cover that under guideline 2.34. Sorry.
Well, nope, you're good. All right, we'll give it a shot here. I move to conditionally approve application number 2021-COA-461 for the addition, alterations, and window replacement at 164 Lafayette Street as per design guidelines 2.15, 2.20, 3.6. I'm going to add 3.7 and 2.34. Presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report with the following conditions. 1, that door 101 be maintained as a historic door, though reswinging the door is acceptable per deliberation. That the spacer bar be added to all new doors and windows at divided lights. That windows on the addition be inset 2 inches into the wall. That additional details be provided about the railing height adjustment and attachment at the side porch and entry. And that the roof and window configuration for the second floor rear addition be confirmed with staff to comply with guidelines 3.7 and 3.6.
Thank you, Graham. Do we have a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second that.
Ooh, thank you, Julie. That was a close one between the two of you. All right. Yeah, so there's just some discussion on the motion. Gary, what's your comment? You're on mute.
I think we need to include Erica's observation that the elevations be correctly identified in the resubmittal.
And Erica, was that your comment too?
Yes, in addition to thanking Graham for tackling the motion.
That was a
Mine
big one.
was the easiest one, but I will accept that friendly amendment.
Okay, great. All right. So if there's no further discussion on the motion, then I'll call.
Hold on, does Julie seconded?
Oh,
it?
Julie absolutely accepts
Thank
it.
you.
But I see Jesse has a comment.
Thank you. Okay, Jesse.
Y'all didn't address the tile.
Oh, and I had left that out simply because we were comfortable with the, although you're right, Jesse, that the material was in question, wasn't it? So I can't make my own friendly
Would
amendment.
someone like to make a friendly amendment? Gary, yeah.
In that the replacement pavers at the main entry should be more compatible in material and color to the character of the building, of the house.
Thanks, Gary. Do you accept, Graham?
I accept.
And Julie?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Any further discussion on the motion? That was a big one. All right. I'll call for the vote. George.
Heroic job, Graham. Aye.
Brad.
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Graham,
Aye.
Julie,
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
Anne,
Aye.
Kelly, aye. All right, so we have a unanimous vote and the motion passes. I think you can work with Jesse to achieve these conditions, and I hope that was all clear in our deliberation. So the next project we have is 2021-COA-473 at 1250 Vine Street. And we've got Jesse presenting this again. Busy day.
Busy day. Jen, if we could go back to the original presentation.
Yep, hold on.
Give me a second to scroll here. Seems to be lagging a little bit. Okay, so here we have 1250 Vine Street, constructed in 1896. This is a contributing building to the Wyman Historic District. The applicant is proposing to replace 22 windows on the front, sides, and back of the house with aluminum clad wood windows. Staff would like to note that the applicant is proposing to make repairs to the existing porch on the front of the house. Just as a reminder, this does not require a landmark review. I'm just bringing it up simply because it is included in the application, and just wanted to put that reminder out there. So here are the floor plans denoting the windows to be replaced and repaired. Teal represents the windows to be replaced. Most of the replacements are slated for the attic and second floor of the building, although the applicant is proposing to replace some windows on the back of the house at the first floor. So here's the west elevation. The applicant has broken their window labels down into the building level, elevation, window type, and window number. Staff would recommend that a specific window number be provided for each individual window, as there are several windows on each elevation that have the same label, and it just makes it difficult whenever you're looking at the detailed windows to remember which window is which. So on the west elevation, the applicant is proposing to replace a total of 6 windows. Sorry, I have a cat that is in love with me right now. Generally speaking, the 4 windows labeled as W or 2W-B-1, staff recommend or are supportive of replacement of these windows. The images provided for each of these windows shows severe wood rot, splitting wood, especially at the lower rails, issues at the joints, especially at the lower rails. Again, here we need updated labels just so we know which window is which. But generally speaking, we felt that these windows were in a state of severe disrepair, as indicated by the photos provided for each of them. The window labeled 3WC-1 on page 10 shows pictured on the left here shows wood rot, splitting wood, especially on the lower rail, and slipping at the joints. Staff would be supportive of replacement of this window. Window labeled 3WC-1 on page 11, pictured on the right, shows details of the window trim and frame, but does not provide clear images of the condition of that window. So the applicant will need to provide us with additional information, photographs of the actual window to be replaced, so that we can make a clearer decision or determination as to whether or not it would be viable for replacement. So here's the south elevation. The applicant is proposing to replace 4 windows on the second floor and 2 windows at the attic floor level. Window 2S-B-4 is in good condition and could be easily repaired. Window 2S-B-2 is likewise and appears in repairable condition. with some slipping at the joints, but that again could be easily repaired. And there are some detailed photos showing the window condition. The wood looks sound and it looks like it could be easily repaired. Oops. Two windows labeled 3S-C-1 on page 20 have missing and conflicting information. Page 20 appears to show a combination of windows 3S-C-1, which are two casement windows, and another is an unlabeled set of double hung windows. Both of the casement style and the double hung windows appear to be in moderately repairable condition. The wood joints and glazing putty are not in excellent shape, but those are all items that could be easily repaired. The applicant will need to provide correctly label their photographs in their application and show both window labels as, for both the windows labeled as S3SC-1. Staff do not feel like they have enough information to make a full determination on these windows, but feel that they could potentially be repairable just looking at the photos that have been provided. And here you can see those close-up images showing kind of sound wood and maybe some slipping at the joints, but all of that could be easily repaired. Oops, I'm on the wrong page. Sorry, this mouse is real clicky. So this is the page that I'm referring to where they show both double hung and the casement style windows. So just needing some clarification and some additional photos to show the window conditions more clearly. Apologies. So also on this elevation, they are proposing to replace the roof on this non-historic awning. The applicant is proposing to replace the metal roof with a shingle roof in the color weatherwood. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the northwest corner of the elevation. This was kind of a side of the house that was tight, so they had to take it at angles. So we'll start with the northwest corner. The applicant is proposing to replace two windows on the second floor and two windows at the attic floor level. So window 2N-B-1 is in sound and repairable condition. Window 2N-B-3 is in repairable condition with minor slipping at the joints. Again, those are all items that are easily repairable. Then windows 3N-C-1 are in moderately repairable condition. The windows appear, or the wood appears mostly to be sound with damage to one of the stiles on the right casement window. The joints, the glazing putty appear to be in maybe a bad condition, but could be easily repaired. Moving on to the northeast corner of that elevation, the applicant is proposing to replace two windows at the second floor. So pictured here is window 2N-B-2. This window appears to be in sound condition, but may potentially be non-historic. The applicant will need to provide clearer images of this window to make for us to make a final determination. It does look like the glazing has been replaced on that, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the window is no longer historic just because the glazing's replaced. But we don't have really clear images showing that overall window, that both window sashes to make a clear determination, and pictures of the hardware to make the determination as to whether or not it's a historic window or not. And then finally, we'll cover the east elevation. The applicant is proposing to replace three windows at the ground floor level, window and one window on the second floor level. So window 2E-B-1 shows sign of joint issues at the meeting rail and lower rail. Glazing putty is significantly damaged. The upper sash appears to be out of plumb. Staff would be supportive of replacement of this window. The applicant did not provide detailed images of the three windows at the first floor. Those are all labeled as 1E-D-1. The windows appear to be non-historic, but additional detail images would need to be provided in order for us to make a clear assessment, but we feel like those could potentially be replaced. Landmark staff feels that this application has not included sufficient information on the windows to be replaced and is recommending denial of the application, citing guidelines 2.16, 2.19, and 2.20, with the comments of additional information that have been cited throughout presentation and in the staff report.
Thanks, Jessie. Are there any questions for staff? Yeah, Anne.
Question, and this is just so that we can have a constructive conversation. Why is this coming to the commission since it seems to be an incomplete application?
So we brought it initially, we checked for completeness items and it did appear to have the completeness items checked off. Once staff got into writing the staff report, we begin to see some of the details that are missing or incorrect that you can't really catch upon first glance, just to check to make sure that the completeness items are in there. So the completeness items are that they provide a window assessment, which they did include themselves, that they provide site plans labeling the locations of windows, which they did, that they provide detailed photographs of the windows, which they did. And it wasn't until we got into the staff reports phase and we were really digging into it that we noticed all these little inconsistencies that couldn't have been caught until we got, really down deep into writing the staff report. So unfortunately, that happens on occasion. We do provide completeness items for the applicants each time bullet pointed out. In my case, I bullet point everything out for everyone. And they did holistically provide all of the required completeness items. It's just those details kind of stacked up where I would have had, 7 conditions and they would have been baked conditions, and it would just not be really advisable to make it a conditional approval.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, let's hear from the applicant. You can go ahead and unmute yourself when you're ready. Please start with your name and address for the record. You have up to 10 minutes. And you're still on mute. Over there. There we go. We can hear you now. Oh, but you went back on mute. One more time.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I guess I have to hold the space bar down.
All right, take 2. I'm Cassie Turbo, architect. I'm at 8189 East 32nd Avenue, Denver, Colorado 80238. So I am working with the Stewart Street LLC company on behalf of this project. And I would like to say that it is unfortunate that some of these comments didn't get picked up until the staff briefing. I feel a lot of these are very easily remedied in terms of adding additional labels. And, as an architect, we tend to label windows that are the same size with the same label. It is very easy for us to fix and remedy kind of the staff comments. So I would like to kind of talk about the bigger picture of the house. This house, even though we didn't include any interior photos, was in severe disrepair and almost unlivable when acquired by my clients. And so their comprehensive goal is to, restore this home to its historic glory, so to speak. So this is looking at the outside of the house to the inside of the house, bringing the interior living spaces up to today's standards while respecting kind of the character of the home. So globally, they're really, have the bigger picture of making this once beautiful home beautiful again, because it is very, it's in need a lot of TLC. And so part of that is, that why we're here is to talk about the windows. And there are some beautiful woodwork and hardware on the first level windows. And that's why, they had decided to repair those windows in order to keep that integrity and character. The second level windows are different. You know, they are very simple, and unfortunately, due to weathering and poor care and maintenance, we fully believe that all of the windows on the second and third floor justify replacement. There were no counterweights in any of the second floor windows upon acquiring the home. They've been removed, and I tried to include, you can see even in the pictures on the screen, the cut ropes. And so just thinking about, the aesthetic quality of the exterior of the home, trying to have a cohesive and consistent look between the second and third floor windows that complements the first floor is very important. I know energy efficiency is lower on the priority for a landmark preservation committee, but it is important to future homeowners and occupants of the building. And so I think it's a balance between preserving what's reasonable within the home and then also offering where can we upgrade and make this place really livable and beautiful again.
Thank you. All right, are there any questions for the applicants? No? All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. Are there any public comments on this project?
I don't see any hands raised.
All right. Yeah, Jesse, some recap.
So staff recap, I did touch on this in my staff report. We did note that the ropes are all cut on all the windows, but those can also be easily repaired. They do make modern spring-loaded pulley systems for historic that can be retrofitted on historic windows. Staff's main concern was that there seemed to be a good number of windows that are in repairable condition at the second floor, as indicated throughout the staff report. So that was kind of the biggest reason for denial for us, not just the missing information or incorrect information in the application. It was kind of a conglomeration of all of those items together, but mostly that there were a good number of windows that could be easily repaired on the house.
All right, thank you. Okay, so let's talk about this project. Gary.
I support the staff's conclusion for a couple of reasons. One is that the submittal did not contain the kind of information that would justify the conclusions to replace as many of the windows as are proposed. And from what I've seen in the photographs, nearly all of the windows could be repaired. The question is, where does the commission draw the line as to what is reasonably repairable, and where would we allow replacements? And so that said, I think it's that a resubmittal needs to address that question. And I think something that could be considered, that in the case of individual windows where the applicant thinks the sash is in such poor condition that replacement is warranted, maybe they should consider sash replacement rather than whole window replacement. And I think that's appropriate in this case because there are windows in the building that the applicant intends to rehabilitate, and just to keep the character of the house consistent. It's very difficult to have a replacement window, if it's an aluminum clad window or a fiberglass window, to have a replacement window look similar enough to a rehabbed window that the final result might be somewhat confusing. So I think reapplication, yes, do a better job of justifying which windows will be replaced, and to consider in those cases sash replacement and frame repair as opposed to whole window replacement.
Good point,
I'd
Gary.
like to add that when replacing a sash, the sash can be replaced with insulating glass. So it can address weather stripping as well as the lower energy requirements of insulating glass. So, to look at the project holistically from that perspective. And in the case of windows that are being repaired, possibly considering the use of either interior or exterior storms.
Mhm. Yeah, those are good comments. George?
I'm in line with Gary only because these windows look like in slightly better shape than when we moved into our house. The cut rope usually indicates that the sash weight is sitting in the bottom of the channel and can be rescued. So you can get back to the sash weights probably because the wheels up above got painted shut. And these can, I would absolutely go along with Gary's that I would say, 90% of these windows are repairable. The windows are the eyes of the house, and they have sat there and seen more than 100 years of history go by. It would just be a shame to junk them when just some basic TLC will bring them back marvelously. So let the applicants go back, reconsider their quality of their application and really what they want to do with the windows. Because this is, it's very confusing as to what really needs to be replaced and what can be repaired. I'd like more specifics on that.
Madam Chair, this is Julie. I would like to reiterate something Gary said about the storm windows. I have really, because I do this on pretty much every house that I work on. I have really good luck with storm windows. Now, generally they have to be custom made. And I think that's something that people are concerned about. They're not going to find it at Home Depot. So a custom made storm window really, it gives you that double pane and it really works really beautifully actually. And the other side of that is it's often repair of a window and the creation of a custom designed storm window is a lot less expensive generally than a new window.
And Jesse, did you have something to add there?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, storms are not reviewed by a Landmark Preservation Commission or staff. They are not a permitted item, so the applicant wouldn't even have to come to us. And they're also covered under our tax credit program, which is currently 25% for individual or residential properties due to the state of emergency.
Yeah, that was just a friendly comment that I have really good luck with storm windows, but they are custom made. Thanks, Jesse.
Graham, it looked like you had a comment as well.
Sure. Well, of course, I could talk about windows for a while, but I won't say anything that hasn't already been said here. Other than that, I also agree. I think these could be restored beautifully. And I know that the applicant did mention maintaining some of the first floor windows as Gary discussed, but not having photographs of those, having the photos of the second floor and not being able to compare without that analysis, I thought was another important point that Gary made, that keeping the windows on the first floor by virtue of their beauty and historic nature, but replacing on the second could create a two-part sort of appearance from the outside that I think would be potentially problematic. So I'll agree with the consensus so far, but also echo that there's a lot of great options and resources for bringing these back around.
Great. I see a lot of nodding heads, so I'm guessing we're in agreement for the most part. So with that, would someone like to make a motion?
I can make a motion.
All right, thanks, Graham.
Madam Chair, I move to deny application number 2021-COA-473 for the replacement of windows and awning roof at 1250 Vine Street as per design guidelines 2.16, 2.19, 2.20, presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report.
I'll second that.
Thank you, Graham, for the motion and for seconding it, Gary. If there's no further discussion on the motion, I'll call for the vote. George.
Aye.
Brad.
Aye.
Aaron.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Julie.
Aye.
Gary.
Aye.
Erica.
Aye.
Anne.
Aye.
Kelly. Aye. All right, we have a unanimous vote and the motion passes. So you can work with staff to address those concerns and resubmit. All right. The next project we have a design review is 2021-COA-485 at 3054 Champa Street. So Crystal, take it away.
Great, thank you. Just trying to get this PowerPoint to move and it's not, so.
Lots of tech issues today.
Yeah, it's that day. Okay. Let's see. Okay, great. So this is for 3054 Champa Street. The applicant is proposing to construct a new infill single-family residence on an existing vacant lot in Curtis Park. This is the phase 2 submittal. The previous one was reviewed for phase 1 already. This lot is also part of the Denver Housing Authority's redevelopment of the Platte Valley homes. On the left here, you can see outlined in red the lot that's proposed to be redeveloped. You can also see on the right that development along this block of Champa will have a consistent setback of 20 feet. So it only shows this one, but the other two on either side of this also have that 20-foot setback. So here you can see some existing photos of the vacant lot. They're a little small, but it's a vacant lot. And below is the site plan. As you can see, there is a 20-foot setback that matches those adjacent properties that have been approved. The applicant will also be installing a horizontal wood fence, 6 feet tall at the rear yard. And the rear yard will have a parking surface instead of a garage like some other ones we've had. So here's an overview of the proposed materials for the structure. The entirety of the home will be clad in general shales smooth brick in the colonial satin color, which is common in the district. The windows will be a Pella fiberglass single hung in black. All the windows on the house will have lintels and sills using a precast concrete in gray, and the roofing will be a traditional asphalt shingle. All the fascia and trim siding between the windows, and we'll use the LP Smart Side smooth finish for that. So here you can see the front facade of the new infill. It uses that Italianate window pattern that's typical in the district and has those 1/1 windows at window sizes found common to the district, as well as a hipped roof that's common to this form within the historic district. As you can see here, it has the lintels and sills with that precast concrete in gray. The new structure will have a simple porch with light detailing to differentiate it as new construction. The details for that and the new fence and the lintels is to the left on our screen. And then here you can see the west elevation of the structure showing that brick cladding wrapping the entirety of the structure. Window proportions again and materials are characteristic of the district. The top cornice will have decorative brackets that wrap around just to the sides of the structure, but does not continue all the way back. And again, you can see there's a wood trim that's proposed between the ribbon windows at the first floor that'll have a smooth texture. And then similar to the other side, this is the east elevation with the same materials and wrapped brackets at the cornice. And then here is the rear elevation. It just has that small, simple one-story porch on the back. And again, the single hung fiberglass windows and brick siding. And then you can see some eave details at the left and the bracket details. And then here are the isometric views of the proposed structure. The structure's design details on this hip roof, 2-story Italian unit with 1-story porch are characteristic of the district and match historic proportions. Staff did notice after the application was posted that the applicant did not include the manufacturer specifications for the light fixture next to the door. So staff is recommending approval with a condition that the applicant just provide a manufacturer specification for the proposed light fixture. And that's it.
Thank you. Any questions for staff? All right, great. Let's have the applicant join us. And when you're promoted, you'll just be able to unmute yourself and start with your name and address for the record.
Hi, this is Anthony Reese, AIA. My address is 215 South Wadsworth Boulevard, number 300, Lakewood, Colorado. Thank you. Crystal has a good overview of the project. This is one of 2 homes for Habitat for Humanity in the neighborhood, so we try to keep it with a simple yet attractive Italianate style, matching the neighborhood. The only thing I would add to this is we are showing a horizontal fence, which is between 2 other homes. So this fencing style will kind of match and tie in with the fence previously approved on the home at 3052 Champa and 3056 Champa. So I can answer any questions you may have.
Great. Are there any questions for the applicant? Everything was just so clear in the application. We don't have anything for you.
Right.
All right. Well, thank you for your time. Are there any public comments on this project? And I see Keith. Yeah.
Keith has his hand up. Yep.
Go ahead.
Hi, yes, Keith Pryor, 2418 Champa Street, Curtis Park Neighbors Design Review Chair. Habitat's just been amazing to work with. They have designed an amazing affordable house. I think this is one of the better ones that are going to be on the block. Just really fits in well. It's very simple, but yet it has the detail that really harkens back to the district, but yet is not replicative. And so we definitely fully support this application. The horizontal fence, not something we typically see. It is a little bit more contemporary. I'm not sure if the commission has approved it on the other applications or not. I don't think that we've dealt with that issue, but the main structure obviously is clearly really Curtis Park, and we want this and fully support this application. Thank you.
Great, thanks. Any other public comments?
No, there are no other hands raised.
All right, and Keith brought up a good point. Crystal, could you kind of clarify if the horizontal fence was approved on the adjacent properties?
So I'm not positive on that. Those were Abby's projects. I will say though that typically on interior lots where there's going to be minimal visibility, we're not opposed to horizontal fencing. We do allow it in some circumstances. We're mostly more strict about it on corners and when it's going to be a large expanse of it. So.
All right. Thank you. Let's move into deliberation. What was everybody's thoughts on this?
I really love these Habitat houses. I think they're just great. I have a question. I understand the need for more complete information on the lighting fixture on the front door. Is that something that would be a conditional approval, or would that be something you have to add a condition for that? Okay, that's mostly what I wanted to know. Otherwise, this is more of the same. It's what's not to like.
Yeah, great. I agree. I think this is really consistent with the neighborhood. I mean, we already reviewed the mass form and context, and I think the details follow through with the intent that was approved in phase one. And I think it looks like it's going to be a project that really fits well in the district. Yeah, Anne.
I'm in agreement.
Oh, great.
Go ahead, Anne. I was just going to chime in and say I'm in agreement. I think that this meets all the guidelines. It does a really nice job, and it's nice to see the building turn the corner and keep that materiality going all the way around. So I think it's going to be a successful addition.
Yeah, I agree with Brad. I think that not only is it a nice design, but it's really impressive that the brick wraps the whole building. But I would like to make a friendly comment, and maybe Graham can chime in about this, which is, I don't believe that the windows and the sills and heads are right now modular to the brick. And I'm on sheet L 2.1 as somebody who's done a lot of stuff in brick. 6'2" isn't modular. And I think that having come all this way with this brick, which is so wonderful, maybe somebody wants to make one more pass and maybe just shift those two windows in a little bit and make sure that the detail that shows the sills on the top and the bottom, that the overhang is actually half a brick, and it looks like it's probably just a CAD thing, because I think it's just a terrific project. And part of what's going to make the simplicity of it so wonderful is that the brickwork actually works out properly.
Yeah, that's a good friendly comment.
Yeah, no, I agree. And that makes construction that much more straightforward too, with clean edges. So I'll agree as well.
Great. And I take it by the silence that everyone is okay with the horizontal wood fencing, considering that is just between kind of the small distance between homes. All right, great. Who's going to make the motion?
I'll make the motion. Got in this time.
Yes.
Madam Chair. I move to approve application number 2021-COA-403 for the design details of the proposed infill structure at 3054 Champa Street as per presented testimony, submitted documentation guidelines 4.2, 4.3, 4.5, 4.6, 4.8, and the Curtis Park character defining features.
Thanks, Anne. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Graham. And then I believe we needed to add a condition about the spec for the light fixture. Does someone want to make a friendly amendment for that?
Madam Chair, I was going to make a friendly amendment that we add specifications for the light fixture.
Great. And
I accept.
Awesome. Thank you. And Graham? You accept too? Okay. Oh, you're on.
Kelly,
I'm still muted. I'm talking unmuted. Yes, I accept.
Okay. Brad, did you have something to add?
Yeah, I think I have one more friendly amendment. It says on the agenda that it's COA-485. And then in the motion here, it says 403. So I wanted to make sure we had the right number there.
Good call. Crystal, can you confirm what the correct number is?
It's whatever the higher number is, sorry. So 485 is the correct one.
All right, so I make a friendly amendment to change the project number to 2021-COA-485.
I accept.
And Graham?
Right, yes.
Awesome. Good catch. All right, if there's no further discussion on the motion, I'll call for the vote. George?
Aye.
Brad?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
Graham?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Gary,
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
Anne,
Aye.
Kelly, aye. All right, so we have a unanimous vote and the motion passes. Okay, so the next project we have on the agenda today is 2021-COA-481 at 3041 Stout Street. So Brittany.
So our next project is the other DHA, the Habitat for Humanity house on the DHA site at 3041 Stout Street. The phase 1 mass form and context was approved by the commission on September 21st. So today we're just looking at the design details for this structure. So this is the second to last house that is left on the Stout Street side of the block. Here you can see the streetscape of the Stout Street side of the block. There will be only one more site left on this side of the block once this project is approved and construction begins on this project. This currently is the tallest structure on the block, and the commission did approve administrative adjustment for the height of the structure at the September 21st meeting. In relationship to the other structures on the block at 3043, the commission has approved a black brick 2-story mansard roof structure. At 3045 Stout Street, the commission has approved a 2-story gable on hip with full width porch and ballpark red brick. At 3051 Stout Street, there is another gable on hip with a full width porch and Inca iron spot, smooth red brick. And then finally at 3053 Stout Street, there is a 2-story Italianate structure in white brick. So this is just how that will relate to the block context. The proposal is just for a single family residence. There will be a fence installed in the rear yard. Unlike the previous submittal, this is a vertical fence. So I don't have any concerns over the fence as it is vertical and that is allowed by our design guidelines. There will be a new concrete walkway up to the front door and the porch foundation does extend all the way across the facade. However, the porch itself is just a partial width porch. So the roof of the porch doesn't extend all the way across the facade. This proposed structure is influenced by the Queen Anne development within the district. It will have a concrete block foundation and the building is entirely clad in brick with a scalloped and diamond shingle detail in the gable face. Brick soldier courses and stacked bond courses and a dogtooth course will break up the building massing and provide horizontal banding across the building facade. Windows on this structure will be double hung 1/1 windows on the front facade and single hung windows on the secondary elevations. All windows are fiberglass composite. Here you can see that the front will also have an arched window. This is a pictured window, so that arched window will not be operable. And here you can also see that partial width porch that is proposed as well. In terms, whoops, sorry, that jumped really quickly. In terms of the building elevations, I do not have major concerns. It hasn't varied in design at all from the phase 1 submittal. And again, that brick banding detail is wrapping the facade and that brick is all wrapping the facade. However, I would like to note that at the rear, 6-panel doors are proposed. 6-panel doors are not common within the Curtis Park Historic District. However, these aren't visible from the public right of way, so staff aren't very concerned about these doors. Even though they're a little bit atypical condition, they won't be visible from the public right of way. The front door is a half light door with panels below. Here you can see some of the banding details and how they will articulate the brick banding. The mechanical unit will be placed at the rear of the structure, and you can see that mechanical unit shown in elevation here, so tucked securely behind the structure. On the north elevation, you'll have the gas meter, and on the south elevation, you'll have the electrical hookups. However, no other venting or building penetrations are shown in the building plans, and those will need to be shown as they're something that we do have purview over. So I am asking that those be added to the elevations and that all those penetrations be kept to the secondary elevations and not through the front facade. So again, here you can see the electrical, but again, no building penetration is shown on the facade. In terms of the design details, this is a very simple project. The brick is going to be a summit brick in medium red, which is typical of the Curtis Park Historic District. It will have a split face concrete block foundation, which is a little atypical. Typically, we do require a smooth finish concrete. However, I feel that this split brick foundation will identify the structure as new, and it's minimally visible from the public right of way. So while it's a little atypical, I think it is contextual to the district and appropriate for this particular structure. The shingling material will be LP Smart Side scallop shingle, and it will have a diamond and scallop shingle pattern to help break up some of the detailing in that gable face. Pattern shingles are very typical of the Curtis Park Historic District. However, you don't typically see this particular patterning in the way that this applicant is laying out the patterning. So we also feel that this helps distinguish the structure as new. The porch ceiling will be tongue and groove with a clear cedar stain, and the porch columns are 6x6 wood columns, and they will be painted. Staff did initially have some concerns over the detailing of the porch. We felt that it might be too ornate, but however, when you look at the contextual studies of the porch, it is a simplified version of those more ornate porches with the spindles and more decorative columns. So while it's a little more decorative than we typically see, we do feel that there are some small differentiations in the porch that will help distinguish it as new and not replicate the existing. One thing I do have concerns about is this material detail here. This is a concrete sill that has been included in the packet, and it really relates to the other structure. There are no concrete headers and sills proposed for this structure. So I would just need that detail removed from this packet, as this structure is going to have the soldier course brick banding detail as the window headers and sills. And then finally, I also need the manufacturer specification for the light fixture. The applicant did provide that to me, but they provided it to me a day before the application materials needed to be distributed to the commission. So I haven't included it in your packet. However, the fixture is appropriate for this district and is not any uplighting, so it is all an appropriate fixture, but I just do still have that as a condition, as that is not something that was provided to the commission previously. So I will just go back to an isometric of this project. But I am recommending conditional approval with a condition that the precast concrete lintel and sill material sample provided on page L2.5 be eliminated from this packet, as it doesn't relate to this specific structure. All venting and building penetration should be shown in plan, and then provide a manufacturer specification for the proposed light fixture that is located adjacent to the front door.
Great, thank you, Brittany. Any questions for staff? No. All right, great. Let's get the applicant back up here. And so for the record, it's the same applicant as the previous project. So Anthony, you don't have to restate your name and address. You can just go ahead and get started.
All right, good to talk to you guys again. So you'll just start off with, well, thank you for the explanation, Brittany. That was very nicely done. First thing, on the part one, we had a friendly comment about the brick banding kind of wrapping all the way around the house. We felt that it's appropriate for the home, and there's others in the neighborhood, particularly like 2858 California, where there is brick banding that kind of starts and stops as it goes around the house. So we kind of use that as a preference to keep some banding that does go around, even though it doesn't necessarily always align with other features like a head or a sill, but it is fairly close to the middle portion of the window. The split face CMU block at the foundation, the reason for that is this home is going to be an insulated concrete block form. So we have ICF forms for the foundation, and in working with the company that provides those, it was determined that the easiest way to kind of make a concrete or an attractive foundation would be to use some concrete masonry units, and we landed on a split-faced block just to make that a little bit nicer than a standard CMU. Because otherwise, to expose a foundation, we would have exposed insulation from the ICF forms, or we have to come back and parge it with the concrete, which isn't a very good long-term solution. So that's why we have the split face down there. And then, yeah, I apologize for the sill carryover from the other project, so we'll definitely take that off. And then, as mentioned, we are using a kind of a more traditional cedar dog-eared fence on this home. So that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Any questions for the applicant? No? All right, thanks for your time.
You're welcome.
And Keith, are you going to kick off the comments?
Yes, thank you so much. Keith Pryor, 2418 Champa Street, Curtis Park Design Review Chair. Again, just an amazing project working with Habitat, the entire house being done in brick, the medium red, which is really nicely attributed to Curtis Park, the arched window, the detailing with the soldier course. Again, it's very simplified, but yet very reminiscent of Curtis Park. We also do like the split face CMU. It does reminisce, but yet show of its time that we do have a foundation. Most of it is rhyolite that lines our foundations and then transitions into brick. So again, it harkens to the Curtis Park design and is very Curtis Park. It's just a contemporary and more traditional, showing that it is of its time. The diamond and the scallops are great, and the use of it in that is really nice. And also the detailing on the porch, as Brittany has said, is very simplified compared to other Queen Anne's, but yet it still does add a Queen Anne touch because this is a Queen Anne, and Queen Anne's are a little bit more detail oriented. So we definitely support everything along this, and ask the commission to also support this because it's going to be a beautiful home. Thank you.
Yeah. Right, thank you. Are there any other public comments?
Sorry, no.
Okay. All right. Any recap, Brittany? No? All right, we'll move into deliberation. So another one of our infill projects. What does everybody think?
Kelly, I'll start off. I think this is very similar to the last one we just saw. They do a really nice job of meeting the guidelines. It's a really nice contextual house. And so I agree with the staff's comments. I think this will be a great addition to the neighborhood.
Thanks, Brad.
Yep, I'll agree with Brad. Just one friendly comment after the applicant mentioned the use of ICFs, and having done some similar work before, it is a challenge to cover the foundation because you have that beautiful blue or pink styrofoam. But have had luck with a more traditional lath and built up stucco as opposed to just a surface supplied parge coat too. So just an option, something that does work. But I think in this case, the split face block and the shallow block there is also a good application, and it's a unique but a neat foundation form. So fun to hear that you're building with that.
Yeah. Erica, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just I don't need to rehash everything because I think it's clearly meets the guidelines. I just wanted to add that I appreciated both Brittany and Keith's comments on the porch detailing. I think it does meet the guidelines in that it is clearly not historic because of some of the lack of the more finer details of spindles, et cetera. But it is neat to see that it's being used because, as Keith pointed out, it is, I think, appropriate and Queen Anne style house. So I fully support this application.
Great. Well, I see everybody nodding their head in agreement. So sounds like we're all on the same page. And as always, staff has done a really good job of analyzing both this project and the last one against the design guidelines. So thank you for making our job easier. Okay, who's going to make the motion?
I'll take a shot. Madam Chair, I move to conditionally approve application 2021-COA 481 for the Phase 2 design details at 3041 Stout Street as per design guidelines 4.2 through 4.6, 4.8, 4.16, 5.9, 5.16, 5.21. Character defining features for the Curtis Park Historic District, presented testimony and submitted documentation and information provided in the staff report with the following conditions. Eliminate the precast concrete lintel and sill material sample provided on page L2.5. Show all the venting and building penetrations in the plan and provide a manufacturer's specification for the proposed light fixture.
Thank you, George. Do we have a second?
Madam Chair, I'll second that.
Thank you, Julie. All right, I will call for the vote. George.
Aye.
Brad.
Aye.
Aaron.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Julie.
Aye.
Gary.
Aye.
Erica.
Aye.
Anne.
Aye.
Kelly. Aye. All right, the ayes have it. Unanimous vote and the motion passes. So excited to see what these look like. Gonna be great projects. All right, our last project on design review today is 2021-COA-482 at 900 Oneida Street. I hope I pronounced that. I always got it wrong or get it wrong.
That's what I say, Kelly. So,
Okay, good.
So our next project is for Pop Top Edition at 900 Oneida Street within the Montclair Historic District. The commission previously reviewed this request on September 21st and chose to deny the request for the Pop Top Edition. However, the commission did indicate that a pop top at this structure would be possible. They just needed some minor adjustments. So this is a 1946 structure. It's a non-contributing structure to the Montclair Historic District as the period of significance is prior to and including 1940. It is located on a corner lot and it is across from a park. There have been no changes to the overall placement of the proposed pop top on the site. The addition is set back 13 feet 11 inches from the front facade and over 43 feet 11 inches from the property line and a little over 81 feet from the curb due to the large tree lawn that exists on this property along Oneida Street. The roof demolition is at 38 square feet. This structure does not require any type of public noticing for demolition as it is a non-contributing structure, although that demolition is still below 38%. So here you can see just the placement of the pop top relative to the existing roof and the amount of demolition that will be required to accommodate that pop top addition. And then here's just that roof demolition. There is some demolition proposed for the actual building facade itself to accommodate some different size windows on the secondary elevations, but staff do not have concerns over those modifications. So here is the proposed plan for the revised addition. Again, the overall footprint and placement of the addition have not changed. During the September 21st discussion of this addition, the commission felt that having floor-to-floor heights of equal height for this particular pop-top addition would help preserve its minimal traditional mid-century character. So the applicant did not adjust the floor-to-floor heights on this particular structure, so they are equal to each other to help preserve that mid-century character. And here we have the revised pop-top edition. So since the September 21st meeting, the applicant reduced the size and scale of the rear two-story balcony from a wraparound porch to a smaller 92 square foot balcony that is oriented totally to the rear yard, restudied the number of window types and proportions, restudied the roof profile of the pop-top addition to relate more to the roof profile of the existing structure and break up the roof ridge line along the west elevation. And then instead of the vertical siding that was previously proposed, the applicant is now proposing a horizontal shiplap siding. And the shiplap siding is proposed to relate to the minimal traditional mid-century character of this building. The applicant has also aligned windows a little bit better, as there was some concern over that in the initial proposal. So I do have the initial submittal in here that I'm just going to jump to really quickly to show the commission. So this is what the commission reviewed on September 21st, and that the commission felt needed some minor adjustments to be compatible with the surrounding context. So this is what we are looking at today. So you can see that on the west elevation, the applicant has reoriented the front facade windows to horizontal windows that better align with the proportions of the transom window that you see on this west elevation. There are two similar window types, so you don't have two windows of different vertical and horizontal orientation. On the south elevation, the applicant is proposing a bit larger window to overlook the park, but the proportions of that window will relate to the sunroom windows below. And the mullions of that window will now align with the sunroom windows below as well. The applicant has reduced the number of window proportions that are proposed and has made them more compatible and similar to the existing structure. So you can see a few adjustments to those window proportions as well. So staff feel that the changes made to the pop-top addition are appropriate for this particular structure, as it is a non-contributing minimal traditional house. We feel like it relates to the existing structure, but is also compatible with the pop-top additions that you see within the Montclair Historic District. In terms of the cladding material, I do want to point out to the commission that the applicant is proposing a poly ash material. This is not a material that the commission has previously reviewed, and the applicant hasn't included information on the finish of this material. It is available in a faux wood grain finish and a smooth finish. We would require a smooth finish for that material. And then it is also available in a reveal of 3.5 inches to, I think, 5.5 inches. So staff would recommend the 3.5 inch profile, as that is close to what we typically require for that 4-inch reveal profile. As this is shiplap, it won't have a reveal to it, but the spacing should still be similar to the surrounding context and to what we typically require. I did do some research on this material, and it is an engineered wood that appears to be very similar to LP SmartSide, which the commission has just started allowing for use within our historic districts. So I do feel like this material is appropriate. And then the applicant is also proposing to replace the existing garage door with a new garage door that will have glazed lights on it. There are several garage doors in the Montclair Historic District that have glazed lights. These will be a frosted light, so you won't be able to see directly into the structure, but the applicant felt strongly about this glazed light with the frosting on it as to relate to the surrounding context. Although the Montclair Historic District did indicate that they did have some concerns over it, but staff feel it's compatible with the existing structure and the surrounding context and is located at the rear. So I am not overly concerned with the garage door replacement. So we are recommending approval of this project with a few conditions. And those conditions are that the finish of the cladding material be clearly noted in the elevation material legend. Clearly note the exposure of the cladding material in the elevation material legend, and then clearly note exterior materials in the elevation material legend, including windows, doors, trim, roof material, soffit material, columns material, and decking material. So I do know what all these materials are. However, if you look at the plans, and I have manufacturer specs on all of the materials, the only materials that are specifically called out are the roofing material and the siding material here. And for ease of permit review, the material legend should just include all of those materials to be clearly listed out, as the building department doesn't take those material specs, and just to ensure that it matches the landmark approval. So I'll just go back to the isometric I was showing, and that's all I have.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Brittany? Nope. All right. Let's have the applicant join us. And once you've been promoted, you can go ahead and unmute yourself. Please start with your name and address for the record. You have up to 10 minutes.
Okay. I am Rachel Nagy, and I am at 2255 Sheridan Boulevard, Unit C270, and that's Edgewater 80214. And Brittany, thank you. I think you did a great job covering what we previously presented, as well as the changes to comply with any of the comments at the last go. Apologies for any obscurity in the perspectives here, just not showing such a hard glazing or frosting on the garage door, but it is intended to be frosted. Outside of that, like I said, I think Brittany did a great job covering everything we meant to correct and adjust for all the comments last time. As far as the siding condition, yes, we understand smooth should be the condition of this siding, and we are willing to comply with that and show that in our material legend as far as calling out all materials on the elevations. I did want to ask if, I mean, I am showing a similar reveal pattern, you know, to the brick for that 3.5, but just curious for, you know, playing devil's advocate, if we were to go with a larger exposure, just to bring it up in, you know, conversation here to say, hey, maybe we want to go something a little bit more modern, get a larger reveal versus staying with the brick sized reveal for this shiplap. Would that seem acceptable, or should we remain with the 3.5 reveal? Always open for conversation here on what y'all are looking for, but always willing to comply. So wanting to get a gauge on that. And otherwise, I think we are, you know, really happy with the way this has been turning out and the feedback we've gotten. So I would love to either, if Kyle or Leah have anything to say. I think that was the only question I had open from my end.
Thank you, Rachel. And thank you for your time. Yeah, there's no real question that we have here. We just went through kind of our initial points of feedback, and we think we've addressed everything there. So we're excited to hear feedback on that. Thank you, Rachel. Thank you, Brittany, for working with us. And thank you, Commission, for your time.
Great, thank you all. And Kyle, could we get your name and address for the record?
Yeah, I'm Kyle Malone, 900 Oneida Street.
All right, well, that makes sense. Okay, are there any questions for the applicants? And we can address that question that you had for us during our deliberation. So we'll talk about that siding size during deliberation.
Thank you.
All right, well, if there aren't any questions, we'll keep moving ahead. Are there any public comments for this project?
Carrie, you have your hand up. You are, okay, or welcome to unmute when you're ready.
Okay, am I unmuted?
Yes.
I should be.
Yep.
Okay, hi, I'm Carrie O'Shea. I'm Vice President of the Historic Montclair Community Association. I live at 1347 Olive Street in Montclair. With the initial application for this, our committee did review it and we did comment, we sent a letter. Today we're just saying that most of the changes are much more compatible with the district than the initial application. The windows and particularly the second story proposed deck has been reduced in size and it no longer wraps around two sides of the home. So we're pleased about that. The only thing we are still concerned about with is the garage door, and we commented on that last time too, with regards to guideline 4.19 C and D about using similar materials and styles of garage as found in the district. Montclair garages are pretty simple. They're either solid wood or they're wood with a row of small windows on the top. But the full view aluminum door that's proposed is not really, Brittany did say that there are some in the district, but I would venture to say there, I honestly off the top of my head can't think of where they are. And they're just, we feel they're not compatible with the historic district. This house is on the corner of 9th and Oneida, and correct, the garage is in the back of the house, obviously, as you can see, but it's completely visible from the street, from 9th Avenue and from the park. So this glass garage is, we feel it's just too conspicuous and it's not subordinate, it doesn't blend in. The current garage door they have is wood. Okay, I am out of time.
I was not looking at the time. Thanks, Jen, for pointing that out. And thank you, Carrie. I was just looking at the street view. So good comments. Any other public comments?
It looks like we have one more. Mary Gage, hold on a second. All right, you're welcome to unmute yourself whenever you're ready. Great, we can hear you. Oh, now we can't hear you anymore. Try it again. There we go.
I believe that you have already considered Pancrasia Hall on the campus of Loretto Heights College.
Yes, yeah, so that was earlier in our agenda. We've completed that public hearing and we forwarded it on to City Council.
As strong as what they saw today in a lot of places. Thank you. That property was my concern, and so thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, are there any other public comments for 900 Oneida Street?
No, no one else has their hand raised.
Okay. Brittany, some recap?
So I think I know what you're going to say about the reveal, but I have provided the material specifications for this material that they're proposing, and on page 11, it lists out all the possible reveals that this product comes in if the commission wants to discuss that further. And then in terms of the garage door, there are on some non-contributing buildings within the district glass doors, but again, they're non-contributing buildings. They're mostly the mid-century buildings, but again, those are non-contributing to the district. But they do face onto the streets.
Gotcha. The ones that are existing in the neighborhood face onto the street as well. Okay, that's good to know. All right. So let's move into deliberation. Maybe before we talk specifics on siding, just wonder and the garage door. So I think we need to talk about the siding. We need to talk about the garage door. But first, let's just make sure that based on the last round of feedback that was given, I wasn't in that meeting on September 21st. Does the commission feel that this meets the comments that you gave in the last meeting? Yeah.
Yeah, this is Erica. Sorry if you'll hear the dog. He's upset about something. But I just wanted to say, I do think it meets all the concerns that we had raised in our meeting. I don't think it was brought up by the applicant or Brittany this time, but I do think the reconfiguration of the roof from gable on hip to just hip is also more successful and being compatible with the existing house. So I do support the overall changes and this application generally.
Great, thanks, Erica. Anne, were you gonna mention something too?
Yes, I agree with Erica, and I really wanted to commend the applicant because I think the last time we saw this, there were so many things that really didn't make the addition subordinate with the existing, with the house that was underneath it. And I think the applicant's just done a terrific job of kind of lining everything up, and it really does a good job of meeting the guidelines, and also just gratifying that we talked about it, and it's just a great project. It's a really good project. So I'm in support of the staff's recommendations.
Great, thanks, Anne. And I see some people shaking heads. George, did you have something to add?
Well, looking at the revised elevations, I have no issue with the garage door. I think the angularity and the just the lines seems to meet the door as opposed to the door standing out. So I think it's fine. As far as the reveal goes, it seems pretty trivial to me. So I would let them go with the reveal if they needed.
With either size or any size of the siding, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if they want, I mean, between 3 inches or 4.5, I don't think that's a huge difference to really make them change it.
Okay. And I'm struggling to find, so I think you made a good segue. It sounds like all in all, people are comfortable with the changes and commending the applicant on listening to the feedback in the last meeting. So that's great. So let's talk about that garage door first. So George said that he thinks that he's comfortable with it. And Brittany had mentioned that there are other ones on non-contributing homes in the district that are visible from the street, which is the condition that we have here. It would be very, as the public comment that Carrie made, it would be very visible, especially since the park is right across the street from it. So what was everybody, can I get some more thoughts on the garage door? Are people comfortable with the glass?
I think being that this is a non-contributing structure, that helps me to feel all right with it. I do think that, geometrically, I mean, without knowing that it was glazing in these elevations, that seems to balance. And it is visible, but it is non-contributing. I think not clear is good for a number of reasons. But do not have a lot of heartburn over that either, for those reasons.
Madam Chair, I actually thought, I mean, I did consider the comment that Carrie made, and I'm thinking about that, but I actually thought that the garage door they selected, especially with, you know, it's not, the glass isn't clear, the glazing isn't clear. I thought it was really attractive, and I thought that it would contribute nicely to the overall design of this.
Okay, great. It sounds like, unless somebody else wants to jump in and oppose it, it sounds like everybody's comfortable with the glass door. I would just say it is both attractive, but also I think it meets our guidelines since it is found in the context of the district already, and it's a non-contributing structure. So I think it's clearly identifiable as new. So I think for those reasons, I'm in agreement with what everyone else has said on that. So let's talk about the siding size. And I'm struggling to find where those sizes are list. Oh, I see. So 3.5, 5.5, 7 1/4, and 9 1/4 are the sizes that it comes in. So what the applicant's looking for some feedback. It's fairly standard that we see 4-inch siding in our historic districts, and that's commonly approved. So the closest here would be 3.5 to that. Gary, what are your thoughts?
I guess I'm wondering if our 4-inch standard is more related to the older historic styles than mid-century modern. And so it's a standard that's appropriate most of the time when we're dealing with districts that have, you know, the older historic styles of buildings. But when it comes to mid-century modern architecture, siding, the exposed width sidings tended to be larger. And so I wouldn't have a problem with a 5.5-inch reveal in this case. Because of that.
And can you just elaborate on that? You had mentioned you'd be okay with a 5.5. I don't know if the applicant was just requesting 5.5, or if we should weigh in on whether a larger size is acceptable.
I guess I'd be opposed to wider than that because of the proportions, you know, the portions of the design kind of stresses horizontality. And if the reveals start to get too far apart, that the design kind of loses that. I'd favor the 5.5 over anything narrower or anything wider.
The word I was trying to think of, thanks, Gary, was rectilinearity. And that's what the garage door picks up, and that's what I think the siding picks up. But the I didn't know that they came in 7 inches wide. That wouldn't look so great. So yeah, I can support the 3.5 or the 5 easily. Bigger than that, you're right. It wouldn't. It would make a wide open space there where it shouldn't.
Anyone else have thoughts on that? And what do you think? Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. I was just going to say I agree with Gary. I'm okay with the smaller reveal as well, but he's right that the larger reveal is more common to the mid-century, but larger than 5.5 would be too much.
Let me see Anne shaking her head. Sorry, I was just picking on someone because everyone was quiet. So that sounds good. I would just like to clarify, you know, I'm hearing it, but I just want to make sure that the applicant knows that we're not selecting these numbers arbitrarily. It's our design guidelines talk about, you know, being contextual to the primary home in the original design. And so the 5.5 size would be most compatible with the era of the home. I believe that's kind of the direction that I'm hearing. Okay, good.
Yes, thank you for stating that clearly, Kelly.
Just wanted to make sure. I know we walk a fine line. We don't just pick things because they're attractive or not. It's great when they are, but but that's objective or subjective, sorry. All right, any other thoughts? I think we've addressed the big points that the applicant brought up and that Carrie brought up from the RNO. All right, if we're all in agreement, who's going to make the motion?
Madam Chair, I will make the motion. I move to conditionally approve application number 2021-COA-482 for the Pop Top addition at 900 Oneida Street as per design guidelines 4.5 through 4.8 and 4.17. Character defining features for the Montclair Historic District, presented testimony, submitted documentation, and information provided in the staff report with the following conditions. Clearly note the finish of the cladding material in the elevation material legend. Clearly note the exposure of the cladding material in the elevation material legend. Clearly note all exterior materials in the elevation material legend, including windows, doors, trim, roof material, soffit material, column material, and decking material.
Thank you, Graham. We have a second.
I'll second.
My second.
I think Erica beat you to it. Thanks, Erica. Gary, do you have?
Only, do we need to do anything about the use of a material that we have not previously approved, or is that included in the motion as it stands?
Brittany, can you, or Jen, can you weigh in on that? I'm guessing since there was deliberation that's enough, or?
Yeah, I think if you guys, it seems that the proposed material would be approved under this motion, if that's what you're aiming for.
Yes.
Okay. Great.
Yeah.
If there's no further discussion, I'll call for the vote. George?
Aye.
Brad?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
Graham?
Aye.
Julie?
Aye.
Gary?
Aye.
Erica?
Aye.
Anne?
Aye.
And Kelly? Aye. All right, another unanimous vote. So the motion passes and the project is conditionally approved. So that concludes our design review projects today. We do have a business item on the agenda up for discussion, and that is the proposed meeting dates for 2022.
That is correct. All right, so just if the public wants to comment, they can on this. There's public comment period for business items, just putting that out there. All right, so Emily and I put together the proposed meeting calendar. She was in a training today, so she's not here. That's why Crystal's been helping out. Thank you, Crystal. What we are proposing is that there's the typical first and third Tuesday schedule that is in our ordinance. But we were recommending that there be a shift in a few of the dates. So the January meetings, to shift them from the first and third to the second and fourth Tuesdays due to the first Tuesday's proximity to New Year's holiday. So that would be, my calendar doesn't go that far. So I think it's the 4th would be the first Tuesday. And so if we were to shift it, it would be the 11th and the 25th instead of the 4th and the 18th. Similarly for December, the first and third Tuesdays would be December 6th and 20th. We were suggesting shift it up to the 29th of November because there are 5 Tuesdays in November, and then December 13th instead. Those are all suggestions. If you don't want to do those and you want them to be the regular dates, that's fine. I also wanted just to bring up a couple more things that I noticed based on calendars. You know, we try really hard as staff not to have 2 meetings back to back when meetings are shifted, because it's really it's a lot of work on staff time for Emily to upload all of this stuff. And to notify you all, it's a short amount of time for us to write staff reports when there's only 1 week, because the day that the LPC meeting is for one meeting, we also have to give our staff report to Emily to give to you guys that same meeting, same day. It just ends up being a lot of work for us. And then there's a big gap between items. But just so you guys know, February 1st is Lunar New Year. Shoot, where are my notes? I've been so discombobulated during this meeting. I apologize because the tech issues. All right, Eid al-Fitr, which I'm probably saying totally incorrectly, but so I apologize, is May 23rd and May 2nd to 3rd. And then Yom Kippur is October 4th and 5th. So putting those out there, if you guys want to shift anything else around. And then Adam and I were talking about suggested motions for, and so this would be some good language to use, and you can modify it as you so desire.
Jen, I did have another question. It looks like the July dates are also put back to back, July 12th and 19th, and I'm assuming that's because of the July 5th holiday. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had forgotten that had been shifted, and it might be, that's something for you guys to discuss, whether you want to have it on the 5th, which would be the day after the holiday and observed holiday, or if you want to have it the following week. I also look to see when the Colorado Preservation Conference is. It does not conflict with any of these dates. So all the, the machinations of trying to set a calendar for you guys. Mm-hmm. Does anyone object to moving the January date or the December date or the dates or the apparently the July date? Or do you want to move others as well?
Nope.
Or do you like the original July dates?
Or do you like the original July date?
Because staff, me, doesn't like back-to-back meetings personally.
Well, it's not just Brittany.
I mean, I would agree that if we shift to July 12th, it might make sense to do the 12th and the whatever the 2 weeks from that is.
The 26th.
Yes.
Which would mean it's back to back with the August 2nd.
Oh, I see. That's the problem.
It'll be back to back either way.
Got it. Never mind.
And the shift in January meetings, if we go to the 11th and the 25th and February 1st are back to back as well.
So quick point out that I'm noticing just looking, you could shift the August one too, since there's 3 August meetings. And we don't necessarily need all 3 because there's 5 Tuesdays. So just FYI.
Yeah, it does get confusing.
September then, right?
No, you just wouldn't end up with holding the 30th as a tentative.
We shifted the 30th, I think is what Crystal said, but then would be the 30th to the 6th would be the back-to-back to avoid the July shift.
You potentially wouldn't need the 30th though, because we typically only do 2 meetings a month.
Right.
So you could just
you could do the 9th and the 23rd instead.
Or you could just do July 5th and 19th, which is the normal schedule if you're okay meeting after the July holiday. That's what I was suggesting.
Yeah,
I would put it at staff convenience myself, but
I'd be fine with
whatever's easiest for the staff.
I say the 5th is all right with me too. That's the 4th is the observed day, right? So, and it's that Monday, so that would be back to normal unless anybody has vacation plans.
What's that?
I mean, I agree. I'm fine with that in theory. It's just hard to know this far in advance if like half the commission decides to be on vacation that week or take a long weekend or something, you know. That's the risk that we run. Just want to make sure we have a quorum. But I do worry if we change too many of these, like, is this something that's going to be very confusing for the public and applicants to plan around, since most people know we meet the first and third Tuesdays of the month. And anyway, not that we're changing every month, but it seems like potentially there could be a lot of changes. So I don't know if that would be confusing.
To throw another thing in the past, you guys have had meetings on December 19th or 20th because Christmas and Hanukkah are typically later, and they are again this year. So if you guys didn't want to shift anything in December, you could keep it as the first and third Tuesday there. So many options.
Staff's called, Jennifer. They
You guys make that motion.
okay.
Yeah, it almost seems like there's no
That
reason.
decision doesn't belong at commission level.
Well, I would be in support of keeping December, I mean, because it'd be December 6th and the 20th, right?
Correct.
If we can change it. I mean, that's not cutting it too close.
I'm
Yeah,
in
I
agreement
think-
with that, leaving December alone, yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll just agree.
That's not what I meant to do. Sorry. I was going to actually annotate this so that we can. So
See what we're saying.
yeah, so
6th and 20th for December. Seems fine with everyone, is what I'm hearing.
what do you guys want for the July? Do you want to do 12th and 19th? Do you want to do the 5th and the 19th?
5th and 19th.
Raise your hand if you want the 5th and 19th.
I'm fine. I'm fine with either. If we want to avoid a back-to-back meeting,
Yeah.
all right.
I always take a holiday in July, so I don't like the 5th, but that's me.
Yeah, and I just don't want us to have quorum issues. That's really what this all comes down to. Trying to anticipate when you guys will be taking time off.
Mhm. It seems like a lot of people were comfortable with the 5th and the 19th. Is there anyone, raise your hand if you'd prefer the 12th and 19th of July? I don't have a strong preference.
All right, it's up there if you guys want to make a motion, see how it plays.
Okay. Ooh, do I have a wedding to go to? I need to look at that. I don't know. Well, it seems a little split, but it looked like more hands went up for the 5th than the 19th from commissioners. It sounds like staff is a little bit split. So do we just keep the 1st and the 3rd Tuesdays
Yeah.
in July?
Yep. The other thing to think of is the ordinance does say regular meetings shall be on the 1st and 3rd Tuesdays of the month. But there is an opportunity to postpone or cancel. So the other thing you could do is adopt as much as possible in accordance with the ordinance. And then as issues come up later, there could be the chance of postponements, cancellations, and the setting of additional meetings with 5 days notice, if that helps at all.
That's a good point. I mean, because we can't know 7 months out everyone's schedule, you know. Okay. Any other, Jen, were there other dates we need to talk about? Did we hit all the big ones?
I think so.
Okay. Didn't you mention some concepts?
So Lunar New Year is February 1st. Eid is May 2nd and 3rd. and Yom Kippur is October 4th and 5th.
Gotcha. So those are 3 dates that are in conflict with those. What are people's thoughts on that?
I think in the past, if we've had applicants that had a commitment, conflict, we've been able to either shift them forward or back in the meeting agenda, but I think otherwise it's probably all right to stay the course.
I agree.
Great. Okay. Well, if there are no other comments, then who wants to make the motion? Thanks for editing it, Jen.
I'll make the motion, Madam Chair.
Go for it.
Did I talk over somebody? Sorry.
I just had a question. Do we need to respond to your original proposal, Jen, or can we just keep the motion simple by saying postponing the January meetings?
I think because it was the proposal that was put out there, I think we need you to actually say what you're doing with the other two.
Okay, thanks. Sorry, Julie.
Just for future clarification.
Okay, now I'm really confused.
So she was asking if we end it, if you end it right here and get rid of that.
Okay.
And I was saying no.
I need to keep talking. Okay, that's easy. Madam Chair, I move to adopt the 2022 LPC meeting schedule by postponing the January 4th and 18th meetings to January 11th and 25th respectively, and retain July 5th and 19th and December 6th and 20th.
All right, thanks, Julie. Do we have a second?
Second.
Oh, there were like 3 people. I don't know who did that one.
George was the loudest.
Okay. George. George, thank you for seconding. All right, then I will call for the vote. George.
Aye.
Brad.
Aye.
Aaron.
Aye.
Graham.
Aye.
Julie.
Aye.
Gary.
Aye.
Erica.
Aye.
Anne.
Aye.
Kelly. Aye. All right, so the motion passes unanimously.
I have one more thing that I need you guys to do, and that is fix the mistake that I made earlier in the meeting, which is that you all approved the meeting record with the amendment that John Sullivan was not in support, but it was actually in support, and I totally flubbed that. So if you guys could make a motion to approve it as it was, and it was the November 2nd LPC meeting.
Okay, so all right, so
I can make the motion.
Thanks, Erica.
I move to approve the meeting record for November 2nd, 2021 as originally presented.
Thanks. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Thanks, Graham. All right.
Hold on. Let's withdraw that motion. We need to make a motion to amend something previously adopted and lay out what that change is.
Okay. So
sorry.
Okay, so
someone needs to make a motion to amend the
previously
meeting record that was previously adopted by changing yada yada yada.
I move to amend the November 2nd, 2021 meeting record that we previously adopted at this meeting to reflect that John Sullivan was in support of the Steele Street extension to the East 7th Avenue Historic District.
Thank you, Erica.
And I will second.
Thank you, Graham. All right. And I'll call for the vote. George.
Yay.
Brad.
Aye.
Aaron.
Abstain.
Aye.
Julie.
Aye.
Gary.
Aye.
Erica,
Aye.
Anne,
Aye.
Kelly, aye. Okay, so we have 8 votes in favor of the motion and 1 abstention, which was Erin, since she wasn't at the meeting. So the motion passes.
And thank you. And I'm sorry for making you guys do that double, and I apologize. Won't do that again.
No worries. Anne, what's up?
So just going back to the calendar, it seems to me almost a year and a half since we've all been together in the same place. And it just would be really nice. I know that there are retreats or whatever they are, but it would be awfully nice if there would be some way that we could actually see each other. I mean, I've never actually seen George in real life. And I'm just wondering what the mechanism would be that we either we do it as a, as a workshop, or we just do it as a party or something. I don't know, but we just being in the same room seems like that would be nice.
Yeah,
absolutely. So, and Erica hasn't met many people either. So, having 2 commissioners that have just been doing video. You guys are doing this special meeting on December 3rd for the equity and social justice. It's possible that we could do that in person. He is doing the same training for the planning board at a retreat that is going to be held in person. My PowerPoint computer is shutting down because it got that notice. So I'm just going to stop sharing so we can actually look at each other. So, we could do that if you guys wanted to do that meeting in person. I just have to coordinate a place to do that. And or there, there's always the possibility of a retreat or a social gathering or whatever.
Always up for happy hours.
Unofficial
I
meeting.
go for any of the above.
Oh.
Unofficial meeting is fine, and you'll be greatly disappointed, but it's.
well, I wonder if maybe we put out like a doodle like survey or something to, of a couple options, like that training be in person versus, just a get together, and see which one gets the most votes.
Sorry, everyone froze on me. So what was just discussed?
Well, it sounds like multiple people are interested in getting together in person, as Anne had suggested, which is a great suggestion. So I was just saying maybe we could do like a doodle survey or something, to try and get like what people would prefer. I don't know, just a thought.
I think if you pin that down, then we could do a follow-up for availability of time, and that seems like 2 good steps to me.
Sounds good. I'll do that.
And sorry to be all business, but wasn't there a discussion item?
Yeah, I just wanted to remind you guys that we're having a design guideline update phase 1 meeting tomorrow. So we're going to be presenting it via Zoom again in this format, although as a meeting, not a webinar, because we're taking advantage of breakout rooms. And we're going to be discussing solar panel installation, retaining walls, and wall cladding materials. And we have a bunch of you who've registered already, so you will not be in the same breakout rooms. We're going to mix it up a little bit, but we're aiming to not have multiple staff in breakout rooms or multiple commissioners in breakout rooms, so you will kind of move around a little bit, which is great. And if you could act in a listening capacity, that would be ideal, but you're welcome to chime in if there are questions that are specifically asked of you, or if you want to clarify anything, things like that. So.
But it's probably best that we don't give our opinions unless we're asked, because this is really to get the community input and not for us to influence their opinions, right?
Entirely, yep. And it will be recorded. The breakout rooms will not be recorded, but we're asking everyone at the end of each breakout room to provide a really quick summary of what people said, so that for the benefit of everyone, and that will be recorded. Cool. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. And thanks for sticking it out. That was a long meeting, everybody.
Everyone's sitting in the dark now. We all had to turn our lights on.
They're all, yeah, my cats are about to lose it. It's time to feed them. They're done.
All right, I'll go ahead and close the meeting.
See everybody later.
Thank you.
Everybody.
Bye.
Here.